Alderman Plato and his team. You are welcome, Honorable Mayor. I've also noted that Honorable Kola Barnard has joined us. So welcome to Honorable Kola Barnard, to General Sitole. Honorable members, can you please switch off your mics? We have quite a bit of disturbance. Honorable Dan Plato, Deputy Minister, and then General Sitole. I'm not going to mention you all. Our new IPID head is also present. Thank you very much for being here. Executive Director Klatseng, she's also here joining us today. Honorable members, I would like us to welcome the city of Cape Town and explain to them that this is not a fighting battle. Well, we do not want to have an adversarial relationship between the city of Cape Town and the South African Police Service. Ours is to ensure that there's a smooth working relationship between all parties. I'm going to be very strict on time, so please, you have 10 minutes. You are not going to be allowed to go beyond the 10 minutes because the meeting has to end exactly at 12:30. The order of the meeting, Honorable Plato has also indicated that he has to leave early. So please, we have accepted that apology. The order and the agenda would be that the minister would give us his first input, and then we'll receive the input from SAPS. I'll then take the input from IPID, and then could I also ascertain, I do not see the commissioner, the Human Rights Commissioner. Could I receive an indication if the Human Rights Commissioner is here? Reverend Chris Nissen? Dr. Kinnis, is Reverend Chris Nissen here?
Yes.
He is present, Chair.
Welcome to the
Yes, Honorable Chairperson, I'm here.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nissen. You also have 10 minutes. Your input will be after IPID, and then we'll have the City of Cape Town and then the Metro Police. I will then give you opportunities to ask questions, and the responses will be after that. Honorable Minister, we do not have the luxury of time. I've used less than my 10 minutes. I've used 5 minutes. Honorable Minister, you have the floor. Thank you very much. You are all welcome.
Chairperson, good morning. Good morning to all colleagues that are here. Can I make a request, Chairperson, that at 10:30, I'm requested by the Interministerial Agriculture and others they want to hear about the farm issues, farm killing and all that. So they requested that I am there at 10:30. I think I'll just jump there and come back.
Honorable Minister, we indicated to Parliament that there is an interministerial meeting with the Deputy President. So those who were in Parliament when we indicated so would know that there is indeed such a meeting. You are welcome to leave, but thank you very much for being with us this morning. Honorable Minister?
Thanks very much. I hope that the Provincial Commissioner and the legal people there, Advocate Mbegi, are there, that are people that have been dealing mostly with these issues in Western Cape. Chairperson, there is a long list. The one has been really engaged with the situation of Western Cape when it comes to the relationship of the South African Police Service with the Metro Police, but also with the issues of the law enforcement and the peace officers. I must indicate that there have been several meetings that have really taken place, requested by the minister. We have met the city there, we have met the Premier himself, and there were issues that we requested that they must be resolved. What really caused concern was the murder of the South African Police Service member by the member of the law enforcement. We buried that member, and we're trying to synthesize the relationship and better understanding of the matters. I must say that since the meetings taken place on the 12th February, and many reminders of the agreement reached there. One agreement that was reached there was that the South African police would receive the competence certificate of the law enforcement members that is supposed to be granted by the National Commissioner before they join the structure, and also the structure should be signed by the National Commissioner. Up to this point, I don't think we have received those certificates, of which I guess Provincial Commissioner and Brigadier Mpegi will elaborate on it. We believe that we should work together as a different segment of the government. Hence, the province was part of it through the Premier, and the city was part of it, though the Honorable Mayor was not there. But people like J.P. Smith have been part of those meetings, and Mr. Bosman, they've been part of those meetings. I must say that we have made many reminders on the matter. As you have said, not to fight, but to understand the working relationships and the legal matters that are supposed to be achieved and understood between the working of these structures. I don't think that up to this point we have received much joy on the request that we have made in terms of the documents, especially the competence certificate that was supposed to be given to us by the city, and that agreement was reached on the 12th of February early this year. So I would want to end there. Maybe the people that are dealing with the matter on day to day from Cape Town through the National Commissioner will give a more elaborated information on this matter. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. You have been very brief today, so we'll give a bit of your time to the Provincial Commissioner. Honourable Whitfield has also indicated that he would have to leave by 11, and that he's also expecting load shedding. Shembeni is off ill. Honourable Peacock's husband passed away. May his dear soul rest in peace. And then Honourable Mofokeng is with another committee meeting. Those were the apologies. Shembeni is in hospital, he's off ill. I accept those apologies. I immediately give to General Sitole and his team for their presentation. Thank you very much. General Sitole, could you indicate who's speaking? Welcome, Deputy Minister. General Sitole.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Greetings to honorable members, the Honorable Minister of Police, the Deputy Minister, the Executive Mayor, and all our colleagues. Quickly, Chair, in attendance on the side of SAPS, we've got Lieutenant General Libya, the National Head of Hawks, Lieutenant General Mvazi, the Deputy National Commissioner Crime Detection, Lieutenant General Dimpane, the CFO, Lieutenant General Sempe, Divisional Commissioner of Visual Policing, Lieutenant General Khan, Legal Services Divisional Commissioner, Lieutenant General Zulu, HRD Divisional Commissioner, Major General M.M. Mangi, the Acting Provincial Commissioner. By the way, the Provincial Commissioner has tendered an apology on leave. Major General D. Chilembe, representing ORS, Major General Mutubate, the Executive Member in my office, Brigadier S. Naidu, Corporate Communication and Spokesperson of the National Commissioner, Colonel J. Lidwaba, from the Executive Secretariat of the National Commission and Kenneth B. Stein Parliamentary Services. Our submission or presentation shall be led from national side by Lieutenant General Khan, and from the province, and then the provincial team would be Major General Mangi and as well as his legal team. Thank you. With your permission, I'll hand over to Lieutenant General Khan, Chair.
Agreed, you may hand over. General Khan.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, Minister. Good morning, Deputy Minister. Good morning, National Commissioner, senior managers, and colleagues. Chair, I'm going to go through the presentations in view of the limited time as quickly as I possibly can. If we can move on to the next slide, colleagues, the person that's dealing with these, moving the presentation. Chair, the presentation is as follows. The overview, we have the background, the legislative mandate of the Municipal Police Services, the powers of the SAPS relating to the performance of members of the Municipal Police Service, the mandate of a municipality relating to law enforcement, powers of law enforcement officers, evictions, and involvement of the SAPS. Thank you. Next slide. Chair, a bit of background. The Portfolio Committee noted the incident, as we've referred to, on the 1st of July 2020, where a gentleman by the name of Bulalani Kolani was evicted from his shack in full view of the public in Ipolweni, Khayelitsha. SAPS was subsequently requested to brief the Portfolio Committee regarding the relationship between the SAPS and the City of Cape Town. The PCOP raised specific questions that needed to be clarified in the matter. The questions being, which is not on the presentation, but it's summarized in the few further slides that are being presented. But the questions relate to the relationship between SAPS and the City of Cape Town, inter alia, the legislative mandate of SAPS, Metro Municipal Police, the law enforcement, the consultation with regards to evictions and whether the annual police plan makes provision for the anti-land invasion units, the training of Metro Police and what role the SAPS plays, and the role of the SAPS in evictions. Thank you. The next slide. Chair, I'm going to start off with the legislative mandate of the Municipal Police Services. Chapter 12 of the South African Police Service Act regulates the establishment and functions of municipal police services, the powers of its members, and the powers of the Minister and National Commissioner in respect of municipal police services. Chair, in terms of 64E, Section 64E of the SAPS Act, the functions of a municipal police service are traffic policing, subject, of course, to any legislation relating to traffic, the policing of municipal bylaws and regulations, which are the responsibility of the municipality in question, and the prevention of crime. Of course, in the furtherance of its mandate, policing powers have been conferred upon members of the Municipal Police Service in terms of regulations for municipal police services, which has been promulgated by the Minister of Police. And these powers include the powers as set out in the SAPS Act, the Criminal Procedure Act, the Stock Theft Act, Drugs and Drug Trafficking Act, and the Domestic Violence Act. Chair, a member of the Municipal Police Services is a peace officer in terms of 64F3 of the SAPS Act, and may exercise the powers conferred upon such a police officer by law, basically within the area of jurisdiction of the municipality in which he or she has been appointed. So this is conferred in terms of the SAPS Act. Chair, in terms of Section 64L of the SAPS Act, the National Commissioner has a responsibility to determine national standards of policing that's contained in Section 64L of the SAPS Act for municipal police services. The purpose of these standards is to ensure standardized and uniform approach to policing. Policing standards include matters such as arrest, search and seizure, domestic violence, use of force in effecting an arrest, and crime scene management, and national training standards for municipal police services. In addition, to the training prescribed by the Minister of Transport for traffic officers. These standards, Chair, require that a member must successfully complete training in modules determined by the National Commissioner, including criminal law, law of criminal procedure, law of evidence, community policing, firearms skills, ethical policing matters, basic concepts of policing, etc. So if a municipal police service has failed to maintain national standards, the National Commissioner must report the failure to the Minister of Police, who may request the relevant MEC to intervene to ensure compliance with the standard. Chair, the Chief of the Municipal Police Service is required to develop an annual plan relating to the prevention of crime in cooperation with the Provincial Commissioner, that's in terms of Section 64C2G of the SAPS Act. This aims to enhance effective coordination of policing between the Municipal Police Service and the SAPS on an operational level and ensure a mutual focus on matters in the prevention of crime. Now we go on to the mandate of the municipality, Chair, relating to law enforcement. This is the second part. Chair, in terms of Section 151(3) of the Constitution, it provides that a municipality has a right to govern on its own initiative the local government affairs of its community, subject to national and provincial legislation as provided for in the Constitution. And accordingly, Section 1521D of the Constitution, the objects of local government include the promotion of a safe and healthy environment. Section 156 of the Constitution provides that the municipality, in order to fulfill that mandate, has executive authority in respect of and has a right to administer local government matters as provided for in the listed areas set out in Schedule 4 and 5 of the Constitution, which you will refer to earlier on. The listed areas include matters such as building regulations and health service, amongst others. Chair, in terms of Section 156(2), a municipality may make and administer bylaws for the effective administration of matters which it has a right to administer. These will include the matters as set out in Schedule 4 and 5 of the Constitution. Section 1565 provides that a municipality has a right to exercise any power concerning a matter reasonably necessary for or incidental to the effective performance of its function. Chair, law enforcement officers are appointed to enforce the performance of the functions of the municipality as conferred upon it by the Constitution, by inter alia, the promotion of a safe and healthy environment, and to enforce the administration of matters which fall within the mandate of the municipality. The law enforcement officers, Chair, are appointed by the City of Cape Town, function separately and independently from the Cape Town Metropolitan Police Department, and are not members of the Municipal Police Service. The SAPS has no legislative mandate to monitor or intervene in the performance of the law enforcement officers. The Anti-Land Invasion Unit of the City of Cape Town consists of law enforcement officers and does not form part of the Municipal Police Service. Thank you. Next slide. Chair, now we go on to the powers of the law enforcement officers. This is Section 334(1) of the Criminal Procedure Act, Chair, which provides that the Minister of Justice and Correctional Services, the Gazette, declare that any person who by virtue of his office falls within any category defined in the notice shall within the specified area in the notice be a peace officer for the purpose of exercising, with reference to any provisions of the Criminal Procedure Act or any offense or any class of offense likewise specified, the powers defined in the notice. The Minister of Justice may, by notice in the Gazette, prescribe conditions which shall be complied with before such a certificate of appointment may be validly issued. And in this instance, in 2018, the Minister of Justice revised the notice of on the declaration of law enforcement officers appointed by municipality as peace officers, which was previously issued in 2002. So the current conditions imposed, according to the notice, the Minister of Justice prescribed that a certificate of appointment shall be issued to law enforcement officers only if the employer of that person has been furnished with a certificate of competency issued by the National Commissioner. This is what the Minister has been referring to. A certificate of competency may be issued by the National Commissioner after having considered three aspects: the previous criminal conviction of the applicant, whether the applicant has been declared unfit to possess a firearm as contemplated in the Firearms Control Act or other relevant legislation, and the training undergone by the applicant with regard to the powers to be exercised. Thank you. We continue, Chair, in terms of the powers of the law enforcement officers. A law enforcement officer is a peace officer for purposes of exercising, with reference to inter alia, the following offences, the powers mentioned here under. So the offences, any offences created in terms of any bylaw or regulation made by, for such a municipality. And these are some of the offences contemplated in the Business Act, the Occupational Health and Safety Act, matters enforced by a labor inspector, the National Building Regulation and Building Standards Act, the Control of Access to Public Premises and Vehicles Act, the Firearms Control Act, and legislation that is applicable to town or township planning and use or land use planning, which is operative in an area of a municipality. The powers of a law enforcement officer as a peace officer, Chair. The following powers conferred upon a peace officer in terms of the Criminal Procedure Act may be exercised by a law enforcement officer. Issue a notice in terms of section 56 and 341, search a person upon arrest and to seize an article, arrest without a warrant in certain circumstances, and the powers conferred upon a peace officer in terms of section 41(1). Next slide. Chair, the other part, the fourth part of the response, normally weekly planning meetings take place between the SAPS and the City of Cape Town to coordinate evictions and land invasion operations. The meetings aim to ensure proper planning, coordination, and the effective allocation of resources. During the national state of disaster, no operational planning for evictions has been done, as evictions are prohibited by the regulations issued in terms of the Disaster Management Act, including the regulations. During the national state of disaster, discussions are only held on matters relating to land invasion operations. The SAPS were not consulted, nor involved in the operational planning nor took any part in the eviction which took place in Polweni on the 1st of July 2020. The operation was conducted by law enforcement officials on their own. The annual plan of the Cape Town Metropolitan Police Department does not make any reference to an anti-land invasion unit, and the unit does not form part of the municipal police structure. Any part in the eviction which took place in thank you, Chair. Continuation. The National Commissioner has issued a national instruction on unlawful occupation of land and evictions, which sets out the roles and responsibilities of members in respect of evictions, and many other circulars have been sent out in that regard. With reference to the outbreak evictions, a contingency plan was in the process of being prepared for the operation, despite the fact that the contingency plan had yet to be finalized. The SAPS was informed by law enforcement officers that structures were being erected and subsequently proceeded to demolish structures without the support of the SAPS. This resulted in incidents of public violence and required the redeployment of SAPS resources to assist. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. Thank you, National Commissioner. Thank you, DF.
Very much for your presentation. You get to start. I'll hand over to IPID. General Sitole, you'll indicate who will do the presentation on behalf of IPID. You have 10 minutes. You will be cut off.
IPID Chair, it should be done by the Executive Director, not the National Commissioner.
I mean, no, National Commissioner, you must indicate, because your Executive Director is speaking for the first time, remember?
No, it's the Minister who must do that if that's what...
Sorry? Is that the Deputy Minister speaking?
Yes,
Minister, can you introduce the new Executive Director, please?
Good morning again. The Executive Director has already shown her face. She has been here, Mr. Khayelitsha has been running around like a headless chicken. She has been Eldorado Park. Yesterday was Instant Cape. She is here on this matter now. The issue here is the question of the structures that have been raised about Western Cape. She will tell us what is her powers if she does, what can do, what she has done or what she hasn't done as a structure that oversees the policing. To you, Chair, thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome, Ma'am Executive Director. You may continue.
Okay, thank you very much and good morning, leadership. And thank you for giving us this opportunity to talk to you about the issue of Cape Town. I'm joined by my colleague from the province of Western Cape, who will give us a detailed presentation as to what had transpired there. So I'll hand over to my colleague, Mr. Thabo Hulu, who is the provincial head at the Western Cape. Mr. Thabo, can you proceed with the presentation?
Good morning, honorable members. Am I audible?
You are audible, but I cannot see your face.
I'm trying to show, I'm calling from a phone. We've got load shedding, honorable member, chair.
Yes, we can see your face, but your angle is that we just see spectacles in your eyes. That's better. Thank you very much. You may continue.
Thank you, honorable members, honorable chair, and all leadership in the portfolio committee and colleagues. I'm just going to give a brief on the mandate of IPID and a brief from the portfolio committee and the mandate in terms of the act and also the challenges and possible solutions in as far as this matter is concerned. Honorable Chair, as we know that the IPID legislative mandate is constituted in the section 2066 of the Constitution and also enabled by section 1 of 2011 IPID.
My apologies, where's the presentation? Can they put up the presentation, please? We don't have the presentation on the screen. Could I please have the presentation?
Chair, the presentation was provided, but unfortunately we got load shedding, so I couldn't get it into my phone.
No, but Dr. Kinnis, can you? Oh, there's the presentation.
All right.
Yes, you can continue. The presentation is there now.
All right, Chair, that is the index, the areas that we are going to cover. Can we get to the next slide? The next slide, Chair, is the IPID mandate, as I indicated. That IPID is mandated by the Constitution, Section 2066, and also the IPID Act to have oversight over two entities, that is the South African Police Service and the Municipal Police Service. Section 28, therefore, enables the IPID to investigate all deaths in police custody, death as a result of police conduct, any complaints relating to discharge of official firearm, rape of any person whilst that person is in police custody, any complaint of torture or assault against a police officer in the execution of his duties, corruption matters initiated by executive director on her own, or after receipt of a complaint from member of parliament, or referred to the directorate by the minister, an MEC or secretary as the case, or any other matter that has been referred as a result of a decision of executive director by MEC, secretary as the case may be, as in a prescribed manner. Can you go to the next slide? Then the next slide, that is to the portfolio. The question to respond, what steps have IPID taken in relation to the investigation of the incident of July 1, 2022 involving Cape Town law enforcement officials in Khayelitsha? Chair, when we look into the matter, we discovered that IPID is aware of the incident, but could not initiate any investigation because of the following reasons. IPID has no constitutional mandate to investigate any misconduct or acts of criminality alleged committed by members of the law and by a municipality. therefore, Chair, that the IPID mandate is only limited to investigate matters where police are
we're losing you.
If you can,
If you can switch off your video.
Mr. Nwolu, can you switch off your video?
or
Please switch off your video. Mr. Leolo?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, you can continue. Switch off your
Chairperson.
video.
Chairperson.
It's
Yes.
off, Chair.
Okay,
Chairperson.
continue.
It's
Yes,
on.
is that-
You've done it. You've done it.
Chairperson.
Okay.
Okay, you can go and have coffee now.
Let's leave it there for now. If you have any other issues,
Oh, I'll
you've
be
got my number.
on the phone.
Honorable Kolobana, could you switch off your sound, please?
Chairperson.
Yes,
On a
who's
point of
that?
order.
Is that Neshu?
Yes, Chairperson.
You may speak.
Yeah, may I request that the presenter go back a few sentences because he was not audible. We missed from when we were talking about they don't have a mandate to investigate municipality police.
Could you go back there, Mr.
Thank
Leolo?
you.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yes, Chair. Chair, what I was saying, in terms of the Constitution and in terms of the mandate of the IPID, and the Metropolitan as defined by Section 64A, that means the Municipal Police Services. Then I went on to explain that in respect of the law enforcement officers, IPID does not have a mandate because the law enforcement officers are not initiated or created in terms of Section 64 capital A of the South African Police Service Act, which only includes the Metro Police, which in the Act it's referred to as Municipal Police Services. As a result thereof, Chair, we could not investigate that matter because it does not fall within the mandate of the IPID, but within the mandate of the South African Police Service. If any act of criminality that has been committed that is not within Section 28 of the IPID Act, those other matters that are referred by offenses committed by members of the public or any other agencies, then they are investigated by the South African Police Service. Can you go to the next slide? Chair, then IPID then have raised the following, is that how can we resolve the matter? Intervention. IPID is of the view that the IPID Act need to be amended. As we are currently in the process of amending the IPID Act, it's the view of IPID that all agencies, that is law enforcement agencies, must be included in the Act so that IPID can have an oversight role over such agencies as indicated, the Provincial Traffic Police, the Road Traffic Management Corporation, the City of Cape Town Law Enforcement, and any other law enforcement officers, and also the District Municipal Police. That these IPID need to, the law need to be amended to allow IPID to have oversight, because currently there is a lacuna.
IPID, my apologies, you have 2 minutes. In
Yes.
fact, you have 1 minute to finish.
All right, Chair. Then we are saying that there is a lacuna in the legislation. Therefore, the legislation must be amended to incorporate all law enforcement agencies for IPID to have oversight over them. Thank you, Chair.
You still have a few seconds.
I'm finished. I said thank you, Chair.
Yes, yes. So I'm just saying you finished perfectly within your time. National Commissioner of the Human Rights Commission, Reverend Chris Nissen. Please, you have exactly 10 minutes. You see, I'm very, very punctual today.
Yeah, good morning, Chairperson, and good morning to Honorable Chair, Honorable Minister, Honorable Deputy Minister, Executive Mayor, Honorable members and guests this morning. Thank you so much for giving the South African Human Rights Commission the opportunity to share with you some thoughts. We have a two-part presentation which we have sent through, but it's not for today because it's a very long presentation. I'd just like to speak to it. We've also handed that over to the provincial commissioner with whom we have been working on a number of issues during this time of even COVID lockdown, but even before that. Our mandate as the South African Human Rights Commission is threefold. It is to monitor human rights violations, or monitor human rights and promote human rights and protect human rights of all people in the Republic of South Africa. In that sense, the Human Rights Commission, obviously through its threefold mandate, are engaged in various sections within our society, and part of it is the law enforcement agencies, the law enforcement in the country. And it's particularly my focal area to have oversight over these law enforcement agencies. The number of human rights violations have been recorded by us. However, all of that we try and do it at the station level, at the level where we engage with the leadership at the station level or center, community center level, where we can try and resolve it or prevent it from happening, whether it's children in police cells, whether it is alleged brutality during protests, or in the case of the last few weeks, we have seen 4 people allegedly dying at the hands of law enforcement agencies. And so, Chairperson, we engage with particularly with SAPS. With SAPS, we've got a national MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, in which there's a very interactive with regard to that. Part of it is that Africa. With regard to the Kolani case, obviously, the issue of dignity, and Mr. Kolani and his legal team to, engage private legal assistance to help him in that regard. But from the Human Rights Commission side, clearly there's a violation of dignity. With regard to the evictions and the protests in the province, we went to one of the things that we did ask the court, that when an eviction happens through a legal process, there must be humanity. It must be done humanely. There's a big difference between demolishing and dismantling. And because poor people have got a lot of, put in a lot of money, the vulnerable groupings, and they lost their furniture, they lost their material. So from our side, we'll be saying that when you follow the legal process, that at least the issue must be with you in a humane way, dismantling and not demolishing. The issue with regard to whether it's SAPS or the City of Cape Town Police or Metro Police, is that we always ask them that we engage the community. The community is not the enemy. Sometimes the problem that we face is that people protest for legitimate issues, and elected representatives like local authority are not there, and the problem becomes South African Police Services problem. But what we're asking is to engage. And one of the things that we've always been talking in the Western Cape with the provincial commissioner is a method that I call the Hilbron method, which is developed by Brigadier Hilbron of the Oversight, where take more time to engage with the leadership, talk to them, and sit them down and bring stability and bring calm. It saves us more time, it saves us less destruction, it saves us less injuries and less arrests, etc. So we are very, very, very concerned that the approach and also the language that is being used during this time, not even during protest, but also normal. Sometimes we feel that the use of language by members are also an insult and also creating a further degradation of our communities. And so, Chairperson, we've collected a number of complaints which we have passed on to the Provincial Commissioner. Also, with regard to the Kolani case, obviously we're in court with the city. It's not ideal. It's really not ideal because every government department or state department must cooperate and are obliged to cooperate with the South African Human Rights Commission. More of that interactive. I would also think that I will engage the city so that we can have the same relationship that we have at the national level with South African Police Services, that we can have it on a provincial level. Having said all of this, Chair, there are very good men and women in the law enforcement, in the police, but there are those who overwork and of these institutions at this space. We are saying when they do that, Commission will get Human Rights Commission there to ensure that the mandate are executed in terms and in rights with the Constitution of this country. Therefore, when we see SAPS, we see police enforcement as the first line of human.
Reverend Nelson, could you please, Reverend Nelson, could you please remove your video? We are losing you. Reverend Nelson, yes. Just give us your sound. Your sound is better.
I've removed the video.
Yes, the sound is good. Continue.
Yes. What I'm saying, Honorable Chair, is that when we look at the law enforcement agencies and the South African Police Services, they are the first line, as we think from the Human Rights Commission, when they say protect and serve, they're the first line. Right? And secondly, the South African Human Rights Commission would like to continue build between the community and law enforcement agencies the greater good, the public good, by creating an environment for trust and confidence in our services, because we are all in it together to better environment and to fight in this country. So when the Human Rights Commission engages these institutions, it is to ensure that we have oversight of the constitutional mandate that those who have been appointed and elected into those positions, that they execute and uphold the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Reverend Nelson, I'm very impressed. You still have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
I'm very impressed. You have done very well. You have respected the time of the chairperson. Reverend Nelson, just to reiterate, what we are doing is this is in the spirit of cooperative governance and intergovernmental. That is why we called you in today. We will also schedule, our time is quite tight, but we'll schedule a meeting where we sit with the Human Rights Commission and we sit with the incidences of abuse and whatever complaints you have had at police stations and in the community, not only in the Western Cape. Let us also understand, please, Western Cape and the city of Cape Town, that this is not about this is not just about the city of Cape Town. We are having conversations, and we will be calling in other Metro Police departments. Immediately, could I hand over to Alderman Plato? Could you introduce your team and indicate to us who will? Thank you very much. Honorable Meshu has also indicated that he has to leave for another meeting. Honorable Plato, Alderman Plato, you may speak now.
Honorable Chairperson, good morning to you. And also, good morning, Minister Khayelitsha, General Sitole, and all the other important honorable members of this portfolio committee. Thank you for the opportunity to address you. I will be very, very short. I will honor your time frame as far as possible. And I am having with me Councillor J.P. Smith that will say a little bit more. And with him also, with us is also Wayne Leroux, Chief of our Metro Police, and Director Robbie Roberts. Just to the Honourable Minister, I hear your issue with regard to the competency certificates, and I will immediately investigate through our administration what happened there. My understanding is that it is submitted, but I will be on top of that issue ASAP. And I also want to say that I echo and confirm the call for a better relationship between the police, between the City of Cape Town in general. And if I'm saying the City of Cape Town in general, it means law enforcement, it means our anti-land invasion unit, it means Metro Police and other agencies of the city, such as our traffic police as well. And I just want to give you, Honorable Jumat, as in your capacity as chairperson, we adhere to all laws of government. There is no way that the city can act outside any act of government, any law of government. And if you are of the feeling and the understanding that the City of Cape Town are not doing that, please bring it under my attention so that we can deal with it. We see ourselves as part of government, and that we need to adhere to laws of government. And due to your strict time frames, 10 minutes for us to explain certain matters and issues is definitely not good enough for us, Honourable Chair, but we will not give you any harm with regard to that. Let me hand over to Councillor J.P. Smith to give a much longer kind of a presentation to some of the issues you have raised. With your indulgence, can I hand over to Councillor J.P.?
Thank you very much, Alderman Plato. Please note that the city has 10 minutes, yes, and the metro has 10 minutes.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so you have 20 minutes, 10 for the city and 10 for the metro.
Thank you so much. Councillor J.P. Smith and Wayne Leroux will take up the other couple of minutes. Appreciate it. Councillor J.P.
Good morning, Chairperson.
Good morning. You may continue. Could you please give me volume? Your mic is muted. Do we have volume?
Apologies, Chair, my humble apologies.
Sorry, your mic was muted. Could you, please, I'll give you extra minutes. Could you start?
Thank you, ma'am. It's the blonde penalty.
Okay, you can go. Ma'am,
at the moment, the land invasions and the protest actions that go with them is probably the largest threat to the city. It's a situation we see unpacking across the country with Buffalo City, Khayelitsha, eThekwini, Johannesburg, Tshwane, Nelson Mandela Bay, and Cape Town all experiencing very significant rise in land invasions. There has been a very significant presence of these in cities like Buffalo City, in Khayelitsha, in eThekwini, where live ammunition was exchanged, and in Johannesburg, where MEC Faith Mazibuko took quite a firm stand on the matter, even joining at the land invasion operations. And then we've seen the National Minister of Human Settlements condemning the practice very firmly, and we've also seen cities like Due to time constraints, ma'am, I'll limit the clips that we play. So we've seen this really as a trend across South Africa and also in Cape Town. We are going to supply you just with some statistics so that you can understand the scope of the challenge we face at the moment. We have to protect national, that includes the Department of Public Works, provincial, city and private land from illegal occupation. And in this regard, We have to follow the prescriptions of the PI Act, the Prevention of Illegal Eviction from and Unauthorized Occupation of Land Act, with the common law remedy of counter-spoliation. With these land invasions, which you can see have had a very serious rise, we've also had 147 or a large number of protest actions, because that is now common that where the city acts to stop a land invasion, it will be followed by a protest action. We have just some examples of these for you. This is the Prasa land in Mfuleni, which has been very severely invaded in Philippi, with the railways effectively now becoming inaccessible. This is the Driftsands Nature Reserve, which during this last spate of land invasions was probably the most severely affected piece of land, and a very large portion of the land there was lost. This is a national park and biodiversity area under the control of Sandparks. People have built right onto the dam wall, and we fear for the consequences of that. The reasons for these land invasions seem to be largely political maneuvering of aspirant candidates within many wards trying to build their political profile. Some opportunistic entrepreneurial action. We'll show you some evidence of that in a moment. And then the situation was definitely aggravated when some private evictions took place during the lockdown, where people in predominantly Dunoon and Khayelitsha evicted people from backyarders. And unfortunately, none of these persons evicted came forward and said we're being evicted so that we could assist to put them back, because the regulations, in fact, didn't permit them from being evicted. The grant funding, I think the city acknowledges that the grant-funded housing budget and delivery at the moment is substantially outstripped by the natural growth and urbanization that we're experiencing, and that we will have to do a lot with the upgrading of informal settlements, that this has become very necessary. But unfortunately, these are often tangled up with all kinds of legal processes and a lot of internal community politics that disrupts delivery. These are some pictures from articles that were published around noon, with persons talking to the media about the units they sell. And we've also seen quite a bit of plot selling. Carte Blanche had a documentary about this called Land for Sale, which is available on YouTube. And the local councillor, Councillor Makaleni, talking about how problematic these land invasions are. And we've had similar comments from Councillor Yosi, Councillor Kachwa, and even from MPs like MP Khadebe. The city is doing everything we can to prevent these illegal land invasions through counter-spoliation operations. So these are distinct from the actions of an eviction. Eviction is carried out with a court order where there is an existing range of occupied structures. But counter-spoliation is where we act to prevent these structures from becoming occupied, so that we may still act to prevent them, in that it is unfeasible or not realistic to apply for eviction applications for every one of these actions, as you'll see from the statistics in a moment. So it cannot be said that the city's counter-spoliations are arbitrary, as the land that we are protecting is absolutely vital and affords people other socioeconomic rights, and hence the range of councillors from across the political spectrum who've added their voices to this. Since the 11th of July, we've had to address 60,000 structures in 147 land invasions, accompanied by 115 protest actions. 91 arrests have been made, and 46 of our staff have been injured. A number of vehicles and facilities that have been destroyed, bringing the figure to just on 10,000 structures that have been illegally occupied, where we have not been able to act timeously since January, and which we've therefore had to leave because they fall within the protection of the PI Act. This unfortunately means that many people who are waiting for land for formal housing are deprived of those opportunities by these land invasions. In Khayelitsha, 162 million rand infrastructure upgrade to the bulk sewerage there is in jeopardy because of that very Mpolweni land invasion. Hence the city's absolute determination to save that project and to ensure that we can provide waterborne sewage to people. There's a 50 million rand project in Khayelitsha that has been lost, about 500 units to land invasion at the Mahama site, which we will never get. And it almost appears as if the land invaders are targeting our list of housing sites, because all the 1.3 billion rands worth of sites are now at risk. We've seen quite a bit of criminality accompanying these. This is paving in Blukombos that was removed from the sidewalk and used to build barricades or to throw at the police. We see the use of petrol bombs, and one of our staff about 5 weeks ago was petrol bombed at Cross Range, suffered significant injuries, and we've also lost community halls and a wide range of facilities, the Councillor Kachwa's office, councillors' homes, and a whole range of vehicles and buildings that have been damaged. It's also become quite common for persons to undress. On the left is one of 3 ladies who undressed at the Valballoon site, and on the right, the familiar now case of Mr. Kolani. In relation to that, we note that the Portfolio Committee explicitly asked us to address this, and we want to say that it's difficult for the city at the moment to speak to this because we are in the current appeal and the matter is therefore sub judice. And we also want to place on record that no eviction took place. We were addressing a counter-spoliation of an illegally erected and unoccupied structure. In relation to the court action that was brought, we believe that the court erred in conflating the demolition of the unoccupied structures which have not yet become homes of any persons with the evictions of persons from structures which are homes. The court also
I've lost sound. Could I get an indication from the other members if we have sound?
We hear you, Chair.
Thank you. Then Honourable Smith, JP Smith. Could you hear JP Smith?
Perhaps he's reconnecting.
We cannot hear him.
No.
No, we don't hear him.
Incorrect, positive of the questions as to...
Okay, could you, Honourable Smith, could you please use another few minutes because we lost you? Could you start there where you mentioned the court? The court erred?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So the court erred in conflating the demolition and eviction issues, as we've unpacked on the screen. And the court also incorrectly concluded that the presence of some furniture items placed by the in the structure was indicative of the fact that the structure was occupied, when the evidence we presented clearly showed that that structure was not there previously. And in rejecting this evidence that was put up by the city, the court failed properly to apply the applicable legal principles governing the resolution of disputes of fact in interim relief proceedings. If the court had correctly applied the aforesaid legal principles, it ought to have concluded that the city's evidence threw serious doubt on the version of the applicants. And for this reason, we have now appealed this matter. Also because the court failed, ma'am, to consider the city's clear evidence based on the aerial photographs, which demonstrated that the third applicant's claim was in occupation. That his claim that he was in occupation of the structure from 16 March could not be correct. That structure was simply not there on the photographs. And the court failed to consider the city's clear evidence from the aerial photographs, which demonstrated that the second intervening applicant's claim that they'd been in occupation on Earth 544 in Mfuleni since March 2020 could not be correct. So the court failed to draw an adverse inference from the facts that Ms. Rousseau and the third applicant, when confronted with the facts in the city's answering affidavit, which cast serious doubts on the veracity of their versions as to how and when they took up occupation of the structures. In fact, they put up new versions of their facts in subsequent replies. So it must be noted that the South African human rights judgment does not override existing orders that authorize the city to take down unoccupied and incomplete structures. Those current orders stand as is until they're set aside, and the city remains able to act in terms of those existing orders with the assistance of SAPS. One of the big challenges we face at the moment, Honourable Chairperson, is that the city is somewhat under-resourced with POPs units. As you can see from statistics, in response to a letter from the mayor, we're issued with 3 units, and in provinces smaller than us and with a far less significant number of protest actions over this last period, they are issued with substantially more. This places the city in a very invidious position. We also would like to deal, apologies ma'am, with the false allegations in the research paper. We understand that the information is drawn directly from IPID, from the IPID report. But we wanted to say that our staff are not aware of these incidents outlined there. We're aware of 2 incidents, and the other incidents are of an entirely different nature that certainly doesn't justify the manner in which they are raised there, but the Metro Police Chief will speak to this himself. I'm not going to speak to the white paper, ma'am, although because it is referenced in your research report, it has not been raised this morning, so I will leave it only there for your reference later. We do want to just conclude by saying that the failure of national government to correct the shortcomings of the Prevention of Illegal Eviction from and the Unauthorized Occupation of Land Act, as requested by SALGA over several years, has created an unrealistic and undue burden on public and private landowners to protect land, which in part is fueling the conflict and the violence. There is an urgent need for national government to support the PI Act with the necessary regulations in terms of the Act. We also want to point out, ma'am, that the coordinated spate of land invasion since the first week of July is the result of political conflicting and contradictory messages on the subject of land invasions, poor legislation, the intermittent lack of support that we've had from the National Police, which Director Roberts and Chief LaRue will speak to in a moment, and the very severely problematic court rulings, as well as numerous agitators who have been seen at many of the land invasions and who are well known to us, and in fact who did exactly the same thing 2 years ago. The city is aware that it has been summoned to appear before no less than 4 portfolio committees in the last 3 months, at least 6 times. And we note that no other municipality has been treated in this manner, even though the matters that the city is being interrogated on apply equally or more significantly to each of those, such as land invasions and demolitions, as demonstrated in the presentation earlier. Page 5 of the research paper circulated to the committee before this meeting actually outlines the very differential treatment received in courts by the City of Cape Town and other municipalities, where we've applied for the same court relief but treated differently.
Mr. Smith, may I please, you are finishing your presentation. Thank you very much. Please do not express an opinion. It is up to the committee to decide which other municipalities we are calling. So we're not interested in your opinions about our research papers. Those research papers belong to the committee, and please don't give your opinion about our researchers. Thank you very much. The Metro Police, you may continue now. Please do not give me your views about what committees the National Parliament is doing. This is a committee meeting. I'm looking for information. This is not a battleground. This is about cooperative governance and solving problems. So please do not disrupt my meeting by giving me your opinions. You may continue, please.
Good morning, Chair. Director Robert, City of Cape Town. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue.
Good morning, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please continue. You may continue.
Chair, good morning. I'm Director Roberts. I'm the Director for Operational Coordination within the City of Cape Town. I'm just going to deal with the presentation in terms of the cooperation and relationship with the South African Police Services. Part of your mandate, I think that was explained with regarding to traffic policing, bylaw and crime prevention. Then, Chair, I just want to indicate that the roles and responsibilities of the South African Police in terms of land invasions is set out in the National Instruction 7 of 2017, unlawful occupation of land and evictions. And those 8 table of contents explain the roles and responsibilities of the South African Police in terms of land invasions. Just an extract out of the land invasions national instruction indicated dealing with land invasions. If a member of the service is notified of an invasion of land on a large scale, it is important to act within the shortest possible period of time. Land invasions are usually associated with the occupation of land, force and threats of force, keeping in mind that the person in the process of erecting a building or a structure and not inhabiting the building or structure, he or she is not residing on such a land, and therefore a case of trespass may be made out. As owners of the land, we requested national, provincial and private landowners to register a case. Just feedback from the city in terms of this. The City of Cape Town is currently struggling with the various substations in terms of the reporting of trespass cases. Most of these cases getting closed off undetected without using the following documentations: witness statements, CCTV footage, video footage, epic footage, or any downloadings at the South African Police, the determination of damage and cost infrastructure, court orders served on the particular sites, integrated operational plans, and the utilization of the informer system. Then another extract, and I just want to comment on that particular, is the City of Cape Town operational component in terms of Metro Police traffic and law enforcement is currently part of daily operational planning meetings with SAPS at 1600 hours at the SAPS Command Center. Station commanders are responsible to put an operational plan in place according to this extract regarding the required land invasion operation. And then public order police will be activated if needed by the station commander. Another extract from the National Instruction Seminar of 2017 made it clear that the South African police are responsible to investigate these criminal cases. The SAPS is responsible for the investigation of all criminal cases reported as part of land invasion, should it be trespass, public violence, malicious damage to property, arson, murder, attempted murder, and all those cases. The city approached the provincial commissioner to have a watching briefs agreement in place in terms of cases reported to the city or by the city. We are still waiting for
we've lost sound. Sound, please. We've lost you. Honorable members, do you hear? Because I've lost sound.
No, Chairperson.
We've lost sound, Chair.
We've lost sound. Could they please assist us? Alderman, Honorable Mayor, your team has lost sound. Alderman Plato, we've lost your sound.
Chair, they are trying to resolve it. Please allow them a moment.
Oh, thank you. Could you continue? Who am I speaking to? Honorable colleagues, I'll give them another opportunity to speak. In the meantime, Alderman Plato, is there anything you'd like to do to conclude? Is there anything you'd like to say?
Thank you, Chairperson. Looking at time constraints, let me use the opportunity to thank you for providing the City of Cape Town the opportunity to speak to you, to address you. I just want to give you the unconditional assurance. Our address is not to create a hostile relationship between us and your honorable office and yourself. It's just to put the City of Cape Town's issues across, and at the end of the day, for us to jointly find an amicable solution to the problems we are facing. But you did give us that opportunity, and we are very thankful and very grateful for that. Thank you so much. I understand your time, because Honorable Chair, we would have loved to say more. I myself had a 10-minute presentation, that sort of thing, but at the end of the day, I think we have said enough so far, and it's all over to you. Thank you so much.
Alderman, please, Plato, Honorable Mayor, we would like to engage in discussion.
Yes.
Yes, but I've also received a message that you will be leaving. So I wanted to just engage with you on the following, that according to the Minister, you did not provide competency certificates to SAPS. Could you maybe just give me an indication what happened there?
Yeah, Honorable Chairperson, as I've said...
Sorry, Honorable Mayor, what time are you leaving?
Yeah, within the next 15 minutes.
All right. So could you give us an indication of what's happening with the competency certificates?
Yes, thank you, Honourable Chair. As I've said in my intro earlier, that I will be on top of that issue immediately. I don't know what happened there. I will definitely investigate and interrogate my administration, and I will get back to your office and to the office of the Honourable Minister with regard to the competency certificates. That will happen. Thank you, Chair.
Honourable members, before the mayor leaves, do you have any just brief questions to the mayor before he does leave? The
Yes,
rest
Chair.
we could
Thank
take.
you, Sheikh Imam.
We could take Honourable JP Smith to answer. Sheikh Imam is 1, 2.
Sheikh Imam, Chair.
Yes, I've noted you. 2.
Whitfield.
Whitfield. Farco.
Sheikh Imam.
Yes, Sheikh Imam, I have you. You may start, and then Whitfield, and then Farco. Okay. Please keep your questions short because the mayor will be leaving shortly. Sheikh Imam.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. First of all, let me start off by saying thank you to the mayor. But I see you talk about that there's very serious challenges, that ministers are making confusing and conflicting statements, and there's politicking and things. Why not the city also take responsibility? And I'll give you a good example. The Urban Settlement Development Grant, which you've been underspending by billions of rands. Now, I'm not one of them that supports land invasions, but we must appreciate and understand these are human beings. They have to live somewhere. Why not have a plan before so that we can house these people somewhere in terms of land? Now, if you've got a waiting list of 500,000, that is what the waiting list in the Western Cape is. You underspend in your urban settlement development, but you underspend in human settlement and building of houses. Then surely you're going to expect these problems to continue. So I would like you to tell us what is your plan, because your special planning in the Western Cape and particularly in the city of Cape Town does not protect and promote the interests of the poorest of the poor. 26 years later, very little has happened to actually help these people. So if you can tell us what you're going to do there. And in terms of the competency, these things have been highlighted by South African police services many a times before. And nothing has happened, and I do accept and acknowledge that you're going to do something about it now. But why now at this 11th hour when SAPS have been complaining about it repeatedly? And finally, you say that there is really no breakdown in relationship. But if you look at your last presentation, while you are saying that, Honorable Mayor, here it is a complete breakdown of talking about the breakdown in the relationship between SAPS and the city of Cape Town and law enforcement and Metro Police. So those conflicting things, could you kindly comment on those? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Sheikh. Honorable Whitfield, and then Honorable Faku.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chairperson, I was wondering if the Mayor can give us some insight into the extent to which the illegal land invasions prejudice the beneficiaries of housing projects, and to what extent these illegal land invasions are sabotaging the city's efforts to spend their budgets on formalized housing structures for legitimate beneficiaries, and whether he is concerned about the decline in number of public order policing officers in the province, and to what extent that is affecting the city's response to protecting not just its own land, but state land for provincial and national government. If you could just deal with those, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Faku. And then I've also
Thank you,
Honorable Mapatso. After Faku is Mapatso.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greeting to yourself, to the Minister, Deputy Minister, honorable members, the Mayor of Cape Town, and the Human Rights Commission. I think, Chairperson, I'm happy because when I was looking at the presentation of the city of Cape from where I think that, Mayor, from where we are sitting, is that as this committee, we've never politicized this committee as the police committee. We've always tried to be objective. Perhaps if you would understand that the Constitution states that we are elected to represent the people and ensure government by the people under the Constitution, so that all the organs of states, and I feel that whenever there is issues when it comes to Cape Town, there's an issue of us trying to politicize issues. Not done so in this committee to just focus on the issues that are affecting our people. I want to understand, as the mayor, allowed. Why the law enforcement agencies allowed to communicate people? The Disaster Act was very clear. Unless maybe the city of Cape does not adhere to the Disaster Act. And I think the Human Rights Commission has stated that perhaps you need to try, as the city, to try and build relations with them. Because the issue here, you are raising Buffalo, you are raising others. There has not been law enforcement agencies in that. And I'm thankful that the chair has raised this point to say that allow us to do our oversight role. Let us not be told by the city which other invasions were done. What has happened in Cape Town, and I think the Human Rights Commission is stating it very clearly to say that the way that people have been treated in Cape Town, it was not right, it was inhumane. So I think these are the points that you need to take when you go back as the mayor. And understand that as a committee, we have to play our oversight role. And I'm a bit worried because I hear that you were blaming the human settlement, you are blaming SAP in everything that is going wrong in the city. And I think it's important, Mayor, that really you must make sure that you compile this report. Perhaps, Chair, you must request the city to come back again, because it will be very if some of them, maybe they are not legal even to because don't have the certificates that are required. So I really want, maybe there must be a report that comes to the committee, because if some of these law enforcement agencies, for example, are doing these things they are doing and they are not competent, and it become crises that these people are doing. So what we are saying that it is wrong for people to evict, while the Disaster Management Act is clearly saying that you can't evict people during this time. You understand the land invasion, even our government, we don't support it, even the Minister of Human Settlement, but what is stated here, the way that this issue has been done, it's done in a wrong way. So I want you, Mayor, to note that. Thank you, Chairperson. I'll come back again.
Thank you very much. I'll take Honorable Mapatsu. And then I'll take, yes, Minister. I'll just take Mapatsu and then I'll take the Minister.
Okay.
Mapatsu and then the Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Honorable members, Honorable Taku, could you switch off your mic, please? Honorable Mapatsu.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. And also greetings to the members of the committee and also the city led by the mayor. Just to start with, Honorable Chair, is that as a committee, I have a personal issue that I want to raise, that we have a right to play our oversight role as alluded to by Honorable Faku. When we request the city to appear before the committee, it is not because we have political agendas. We have been working very well in this portfolio committee, and we said we're not going to politicize this committee, but we're going to play our oversight role without any fear or favor. Now, when we requested the committee to come here, the response of the letter, it was really undermining the committee and very arrogant, to an extent that it was teaching us how we should do our work. And I think they should never do that again, to an extent that you have to summon them to come here. That's not how we work as a committee. We work very well with other municipalities, and as a committee work very well. So they must never again do that. Chair, what I want to raise here is that the mayor says that he knows that the report was submitted of the certificates, but he does not have the report. And we have the National Commissioner here present. He does not have to go and investigate. It's just for the National Commissioner to tell us whether those certificates were submitted or not. If not, therefore, the provincial commissioner of the police have to look into that, whether that law enforcement, is it legal to operate under without complying to these laws that are there for an officer or peace officer. For him to carry a gun or to operate, you must have a certificate signed by the National Commissioner. If they are not signed, that means they are operating illegally. And we would like to hear the National Commissioner speaking into that. Secondly is that I think all of us as a government, we don't allow land invasion. No one agrees with the land invasion. We must make sure that we don't allow that. But we should, if there are evictions, they should be done in the way Reverend Chris Nissen has just alluded to. That if there is a communication and things are done in a humane way, but not to really abuse the role or the powers that were given, to an extent that we what do we call it? We really deal with the, what do you call it? We are really undermining the human of that particular person in Khayelitsha who was really abused. In any way, even if you're a police or law enforcement, they should have these negotiations happening. But the other issue, Chair, is that there are meetings that are supposed to take place regularly. And in the report from the presentation from the police, in regard to this eviction, there was never meetings held and the police were not involved. As such, it creates problem. You cause violence because the police, they come late because they were not part of this thing. So that relationship needs to be addressed. As I continue, before I conclude, Chair, is that there is a plan that is supposed to be presented to the provincial commissioner so that to be adopted. I don't know now that want to hear whether that annual performance plan has been signed or presented to the provincial commissioner. The IPID Chair, it must, as a matter of agency, speed up this thing of the review, because it can't be correct that they can't play an oversight over the the law enforcement agents. And in the manner the city is operating, it's operating differently. We understand the legislative and the mandate, but there are rules that where they must really abide by them. As Mr. Reverend Chris Nissen said, as human rights violations, as human rights commission, they would like, if there is evictions, things should be done in a human way, not in a way that you just go there as if it's still in apartheid, where you scope and donor and evict people. Lastly, the evictions took place under the lockdown. That's also undermining the regulations that we said no evictions at this time, but the city of Cape Town continued to undermine the national government regulations that no evictions should take place. But in principle, we are saying we don't agree with the land invasion. And thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Minister, before you speak, Honorable Alderman, I am genuinely, before you leave, I'm genuinely expecting all these forces to work through issues and to work together. So can you please tell your team that we do not allow language like agitators? There's no agitators in this meeting. Even if you refer to people in the city as agitators, we don't use such language in this meeting. So Mr. Smith, please desist from using such language. Before you do leave, Alderman, and I give the minister an opportunity to speak, the city rental it is against the city rental contract to deal in drugs. Do you evict drug dealers and gangsters with the same force that you evict poor people? So please bear in mind your own city rental contract says that it is illegal to deal in drugs. I've not heard about you evicting these drug dealers, but you evict the poor with so much violence and force. And that's my concern. The National Human Rights Commissioner, you also get a chance to speak. Minister, before you leave, you may speak now.
Thanks, Chair. I need to really rush next. Chairperson, I think the constitutional and legislative framework has been put here. That these cities, they were also mentioned by the Councillor J.P. Smith. In police work proper with the metro police in these cities. And if both of them, they get out of the way, there is an oversight of the IPID. If they hire private security companies and they do wrong things like your red ends, there is an oversight of SIRA. Now, in Western Cape, the problem is that there are more enforcement officers than the metro, which IPID has no oversight, and we have no better understanding who has oversight of, over them. I will request the mayor to give us, or give me the time frame. When are we going to get this certificate? Because the meeting to deal with certificates took place on the 18th of February. And on the 21st of February, Mr. Richard Bosman responded by saying that they will be giving us that information in a requested time and resources allowed. That is February this year. For not receiving that after reminders, again, we have written to the Premier to help us to get that information. That letter was written on the 3rd of July 2020. Up to this point, hasn't happened. So I'll wish to know, when are we then going to get the certificate? That's one. The certificate of competence, if they are not there, what do we do with such operations that have been done by the law enforcement that might happen that they don't have the competence certificate? Two, there are serious issues that have happened that we can't have oversight on them. One, the member of the South African Police Service was murdered by the member of the law enforcement. We saw Polani, what happened. We saw one woman, I think it was September, that was pulled aside by these law enforcement, throwing her around and all those. So these are the questions. And can we get, I appreciate and I welcome the commitment, but the question, we have tried this since February, it's almost, the year is down the line now, but we are not getting this kind of favor from the city. The last point I want to make, if even Mr. Whitefield, if they read very well the report given by the South African police, it might not be even the shortage, it's a question of coordination. The coordination should be the primary thing here, but not even the Metro Police, but the law enforcement, they go alone, they don't plan with everybody, no signed plans. Then when things go wayward, then you call the South African police to come and mop up the trouble that is there. I believe if they take these matters to sit down and plan together with everybody, life will go much better. So rather than to argue if there is no sufficient police, they need to improve the coordination rather than running ahead, confuse the things, and the police are called then to mop up the trouble. But as I leave, I really request that we get the time frame. When do we get this competence certificate of almost more than 1,000 people? There are more than 1,000 people that might be operating minus this competence certificate. And what happens if it is so? Thanks, Chair.
Honorable Minister, before you leave, if we are acting without competency certificates, are you telling me that law enforcement is an illegal structure?
Well, Chairperson, the law says they must act after I've received, that was read, after from the Minister of Justice and Correctional Service. They must act individually as they've been given the competence certificate and collectively as structures. So if the law says so and you don't have it, I'm not a judge to tell. But what is important, the law instructs. Are we following the instruction of the law? That's my main question.
Thank you, Minister. Alderman Plato, would you like to respond before you leave?
Honorable Chairperson, yeah, thank you so much. Let me start with the Honorable Minister. He must leave as well, and I note the comments made by the Minister. Minister Khayelitsha, you want a time frame from me. I will give you a time frame. As I've said earlier, I will be on top of the situation right after the session. I will engage the administration. Mr. Richard Bosman is part of the administration, and if it is found that the city is at fault, and I will do the necessary steps to make sure you do receive the certificates ASAP. If it is not today, but at least by Monday, due to the fact that it is Friday today, but you will receive it ASAP. I want to give you that unconditional assurance. With regard to the issuing of the certificates, my understanding is the police themselves issue the certificates, but the city needs to forward it officially after we receive it from SAPS to your office. But I leave it with me. I will be on top of it. With some of the issues, other issues raised by you, Honorable Chairperson, with regard to evictions and so forth. We believe we act within laws of government. The issue is people throw Metro Police, law enforcement, even SAPS with stones. They act violently against the officers, and the officers need to respond. And that is where it gives rise to that we act in an inhumane manner. We try not to act in an inhumane manner, but I will address that issue as well. What we pick up with the invasions in Cape Town is that people have find loopholes in the regulations. That is what we meant by statements made by officers of government. And at the end of the day, we need to unpack the situation in Cape Town a bit more. My own investigation, I went to Bloemfontein myself. I went into Khayelitsha even in this week. I spent some time in these communities, and what I clearly pick up is issues such as shack farming. People ask money for a site. It's up to between 2,000 to 4,000 rand a site. They orchestrate. It is well planned. It is well orchestrated by people that want to make money out of poor people and that sort of thing. And we pick up very clearly, and we do have some evidence to the fact that it is hundreds of thousands of rands that is being made out of shack farming, out of invasions. Even the poorest of the poor, they can pay 1,000, 2,000, even up to 4,000 rand for their shack and for their structure. And we're saying we act in an anti-spoliation kind of a manner. Yes, I agree with cooperation with the police. I just want to say to the Honourable Chair and the Honourable Minister, my understanding from my officers is there is daily engagement between Metro Police and the police. And I have made reference to that as well. I am aware of the daily engagement. So there's not a thing of that there is no cooperation between Metro Police, the city of Cape Town at large, and the South African Police Services. My understanding is that the relationship is sound. My understanding, there might be a hiccup here or there, but we try our best. I try my best to make sure that the relationship between Metro Police, law enforcement, and SAPS is a very, very good relationship. But that is what I've said, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister. If you is of the opinion that relationship between us is not sound, I want to hear about it. And I don't want to hear about it in a meeting that there is hiccups, there is problems. I want to hear it almost immediately so that I can put the necessary rectification steps in place to make sure the relationship is a very good relationship. Some SAPS members contact the city almost every day. They request assistance, they request service delivery assistance, they pick up issues in the community. People go to SAPS with each and every issue. Station commanders phoned, they contact my office and that sort of thing, and we act and we help the police as far as possible. So I want to say unconditionally, I don't take the point that the relationship is not good. But with big entities like the police and like with the city, there will be one or two instances, and we need to deal with it as it arises. Then the issue with regard to my appearance before the committee, what I meant when I addressed the Honourable Chairperson was that, and Councillor J.P. Smith alluded to that as well, I appear a number of times before other committees and looking at the agenda items. Reverend Nissen can confirm that some of the issues are similar. I was just merely saying, looking at the agenda points you forwarded to my office versus what happened already, I said it is similar. I can say to the Honourable Chairperson that I respect you engaging the city of Cape Town. We will appear again. There is no question about it. My point of view was just a fact of saying that similar issues was already Korta, human settlements, etc., well addressed and so forth. I just thought it was a kind of a repeat, but I respect your call to the city of Cape Town. And that is also to the issue of the Honourable Mr. Mapetsa. The certificate issue, the Honourable Member Mapetsa addressed, I have addressed it already. and that sort of thing. I take his point with regard to evictions to be done in a humane kind of a way. With regard to
Alderman Plato, the minister will be leaving quite soon, and I'm sure that you also will be leaving soon. I'm going to give Councillor Smith another opportunity to speak. So the city will be getting opportunities to speak. We are engaging one another. I'm going to give you a minute to conclude.
Yes.
The only thing that I would want to say to you before you do leave, Alderman Plato, please do not behave like in a relationship where the one party says there's a breakdown in communication and the other party says, no, this relationship is wonderful. You know, that's a recipe for disaster. Even, I'm not saying that you need to be a married couple. Honorable Sheikh is laughing at me. Please don't laugh at me. But you know, if you have a relationship with your children and your children say, but they're not speaking to you, you cannot as a parent say that you have a wonderful relationship. So ours is not about only the evictions. Ours is about we manage and we have an oversight function over the different entities of police. I'm not interested in who you have seen in terms of other committees. This is a committee of police. If the relationship and if this committee has an impression that you do not have a working relationship, then please do not tell us. We're not judges, but please do not come and tell us that your marriage is sound when we are telling you that you are really about to divorce each other. So we are here to make sure that you do work together. And Honorable Sheikh, you see the minister is leaving soon. Honorable Mayor, before you leave, Minister, before you do leave, and this is not a spat between the two of you. We are going to call you back, and by then, we would want to know that there really is a working relationship. And that is not just one party who says we're working together, and then the other party says, no, there's a breakdown in communication. Minister, before you leave, Honorable Sheikh, please, the rest of the team will stay behind. You'll get your answers and your responses. Minister?
Thanks, Chair. I did make the point that in other metros, we deal with Metro Police, that we know what is an oversight, that we do these plans together. I would not deny that there will be better working relationship between the Metro and the police in Western Cape. The issue is not there. The issue is about law enforcement that has no monitoring mechanism, that there is nobody that has an oversight. And the problems we're talking about in Western Cape don't come from Metro. They come from law enforcement. Where there is a killing of the member of the South African Police, which nobody is commenting about it, whether it's Ola, whether it's Miss September that was pulled by the hair, and many other ills, they come from law enforcement. And the Honorable Councillor J.P. Smith and Bosman, we have sat in the meetings with them. They understand these things. They know that there is no access of oversight, even IPID on these matters. That's an issue here of having a structure. By the way, this structure is bigger than the Metro Police, but it's a structure that gives us problem and nobody monitors them constitutionally and legislatively. That's an issue here. Thanks.
Very much. Honorable Minister, it's very clear that we'll call you back again. Alderman Plato, Minister, you may be excused. We know that you have a meeting with the Deputy President. I've noted that Honorable Whitfield had a point of order. Honorable Smith, I've seen your chat. Yes. Yes. Honorable Faku, your line is very unclear. I've noted Faku. Yes, I've noted Faku. Sheikh Imam. Minister, you may leave. You are excused. I'm not chasing you away.
Thank you very much, Chair. Must just go and join the other meeting. Thanks.
Yes, Minister, but you'll be called back for this meeting of the City of Cape Town.
I'll be very
for law
pleased.
enforcement. For law enforcement. Thank you,
Thanks.
Minister. Thank you, Minister. Please, we want a report on the safety of rural communities and farmers. Thank you,
Okay.
Minister.
Thanks.
Thank you, Minister. I've now noted it is Whitfield, and then Sheikh Imam, Faku, and then Councillor Smith. Thank you. Whitfield?
Thank you, Chairperson. The first issue is that there are a number of hands that have been up for a very long time. My colleagues, Tip Blanche and Kola Barnard, have had their hands up. But also...
But you order, Chair. Order, Chairperson.
Yes. No.
Order, Chairperson.
Comrade Honorable Faku, I'm chairing this meeting. I gave people an opportunity to speak. Alderman Plato was leaving the meeting, and that's why I gave him an opportunity to speak. The minister was leaving the meeting, and that is why I gave him an opportunity to speak. I am now taking the points of order, and I've seen the hands, so now I will take the hands. So please, I've chaired this meeting before. I give you all an opportunity to speak. You have until 12:30. We have an hour for all of you to speak. Whitfield, you said you're leaving early, so I'm giving you a chance to speak now. I've noted the other hands. After Whitfield, it will be Sheikh Imam, and then Faku, and then I'll take the other hands. Please don't disrupt my meeting. Whitfield.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'll limit myself to the Minister's comments. He seems to be continually repeating a number of falsehoods. There is a Civilian Oversight Committee that oversees law enforcement and policing issues in the City of Cape Town. And if IPID is the issue, it's our job to amend the Act. I've been asking us to amend the Act for the last year. So I think that it would be very useful for us to get the facts from the National Police Commissioner or the Provincial Police Commissioner, especially in the issuing of competency certificates, which is the purview of SAPS, not the city. So if we can please ensure that we also get our officials to give us the facts, and I think that will help to just bring down the temperature of the meeting, Chair, to deal with the facts and not to deal with political conveniences alone. Let's get the facts from the National Police Commissioner. Let's put them all on the table, and let's then digest that and work on a way forward. But it's this committee's responsibility to amend the IPID Act. The fact that the law enforcement is not included there is our responsibility, not the city's.
Honorable Whitfield, this committee has agreed that the IPID Act must be amended, and we'll continue with that, and we will amend the Act. So I'll take Honorable Sheikh Imam. Honorable Sheikh Imam. Yes.
I'm very disappointed.
Sheikh Imam, your sound is very bad.
Left without responding to my very important question on the particular. Is it better? Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you now.
I'm very disappointed, Chair, that I didn't get a response to my question, particularly on the underspending of billions of rands, which have been particularly set aside and appropriated for urban settlement development grant in the City of Cape Town, for starters, with over 500,000 people on the waiting list. These are the root causes of what is happening in the City of Cape Town. Instead of us rather blaming other entities, I think the city must give us a response to what they are doing. But very importantly, Chair, if there is an oversight mechanism in the City of Cape Town, can they tell us what is the latest development in terms of the police officer that was shot point blank by these law enforcement officers in the City of Cape Town? Very little or nothing, but we'd like a response to that. Chair, my understanding is this, that we're going to come with further questions. Am I correct? Because there's a few more. Is that correct?
Members, please, it's 11 o'clock. We have until 12, so we have 1.5 hours.
Okay.
So please be calm. You'll have enough time to speak. That is why I limited presentations. But please calm down. I'm not taking any temperatures away. People are, please do not get excited. This is not a fight. We are trying to resolve matters. I've come here to resolve matters, not to have a public spat. So can you please calm down? Honorable Sheikh, the mayor said he was leaving at the beginning of the meeting. Councillor Smith and his team are still here. So please, even if the mayor hasn't answered, we do have the team of the mayor. And we also indicated that we will be calling them back. So can you please just calm down? It is Friday. After this, you would have a lovely weekend. Those of us who still have to work, after this, please, I know there are a number of us who still have meetings after this. Honorable Faku, then Kola Barnard, and then Tablanche. Honorable Faku.
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, first, my question was not responded to by the mayor because I asked, can people be evicted during the Disaster Act, during the Disaster Management Act? Because the Act says that no one can be evicted. It never responded. Number two, Honorable Wilfield is a member of this committee. He must not act as a spokesperson of the city of Cape Town. We as a committee, I think it's important that when we are sitting in these committee meetings, we don't grandstand, Chairperson, because we've taken a decision that after
Faku, Honorable Faku, you
about
breaking up.
Chair,
Faku,
can
you're
you
not
hear me?
very clear. Can you repeat?
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you repeat what you said?
I'm saying, Chairperson, I don't understand that why my question was not responded to by the mayor. Number one, I've asked the mayor, Mala, why were people evicted while the Disaster Management Act was very clear to say that there are no evictions must be done. Everyone in South Africa is supposed to abide by those decisions. That is my first question. That response was not responded to, so that we understand that if it's national government or if it's the city of Cape Town, because I hear everyone is putting blame on this one, who is not adhering to laws when they are put there. Number two, Chairperson, I think it's Honorable Whitfield must tell us if he's the spokesperson of the Western Cape or he's a member of this committee, because we made a resolution as this committee and that report was approved to say that after we have appointed the IPID head, we will amend the IPID Act. Now he's coming to say, and I even see that in the chat box, the JP says that it's national government fault. He must understand that laws are made and laws are amended, because when you make law, you make the law what is applicable at that time. But if you see there are problems, the law needs to be amended, then the law will be amended. And I think I fully agree that the law must be amended so that the minister is given more powers when it comes to law enforcement, because people think they can do things the wrong way and then they will say that this one is not accountable. Let me further explain to say that the current IPID Act, I think Section 7, when it talks about the responsibility of the executive director, it says that when there are complaints to the IPID must take those complaints to the national commissioner, and the national commissioner must investigate of what is happening in the Western Cape, Chair, because the law, there's no gap in the law. The law is very clear, and I think that's a section is giving us power, especially to the national commissioner. The national commissioner must investigate. And when the SAPS was presenting here, Chairperson, SAPS was presenting to say that these are the rules that must be adhered to. And the law enforcement is approved by the national commissioner. Now, if law enforcement agencies are not doing what it was agreed to, then it's against the law, Chairperson. So people must not think that here we're sitting here when we don't know what we're doing. we're very clear. We're given a mandate by people of this country to make sure that everyone is treated equally in our country. And I think what Honorable Sheikh Imang is raising, it's very important. If you remember, Chairperson, some of us were consisting attending this committee. We went to the Western Cape when we did oversight in Khayelitsha and all these other places. We even had meetings with the CPF members, and they also were not happy with in terms of how law enforcement is treating them in the city of Cape Town. So I think these are the issues, and I appreciate when the mayor is saying there must be better coordination, and I hope it's not lip services, Chair. It's something that must be implemented, and we must monitor it because we have made our commitment. Hence, we called them the other time and they refused to come. We are not going to be treated with any arrogance in this committee. People must come here and respond to issues and not try to be clever than us. Thanks, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kola Barnard, De Blanche, and then Groenewald. Honorable Kola Barnard.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm hoping you are able to hear me.
Yes, you may continue.
Yeah, Chairperson, I've looked into the matter of the competency certificate. I know there seemed to be a lot of confusion about that, but the specific competency certificate of the relevant member, the firearm competency, it's all been handed to the Hawks as part of the documentation requested and delivered. So I think perhaps the National Police Commissioner could speak to that. But I'm very interested that you seem to be, or there seems to have been a request for more competency certificates, which are all, of course, in the hands of the SAPS. They actually grant them to people. So I'm not sure what the issue is there, but I think the SAPS should be perhaps addressing that issue. And I would like to know from the city, if the city could specify the training that is given to the law enforcement officers, what that curriculum consists of. I'm well aware that there is an oversight body. Perhaps the minister is unaware of that, but I'd like to know about the training curriculum and how that feeds into what we're hearing about. Thank you very much.
Councillor Smith, please do not answer in the chat group. You will be given an opportunity to answer. So please, this is a formal meeting. We don't correspond with each other in a chat group. You just note your hand in the chat group. So I'm not reading answers in chat groups. You will be given an opportunity to speak. Those who are guests are not given opportunity to speak. Only those who are formally part of the meeting and those who are members of the National Assembly. This is not an NCOP, so members of the provincial legislature, you are not speaking in this meeting. This is a meeting of the National Assembly, please. If you are a guest, please, you are not given a chance to speak. Only those who have been invited and who have been indicated as being part of the SAPS delegation, the Metro Police delegation, and the delegation of the city. So the next person to speak would be Honorable De Blanche and then Honorable Groenewald. Thank you very much. Can you please stop your chats? I'll give you a chance to speak. Honorable De Blanche and then Honorable Groenewald. Blanche, please, can you send, we need your sound. You are muted. Honorable De Blanche, please unmute yourself. While we're waiting for Honorable De Blanche, Honorable Groenewald, you may speak.
Thank you, Chair. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Honorable Groenewald.
Okay. Chair, thank you.
De Blanche, I saw your face, but you will speak after Honorable Groenewald because we couldn't hear you. Honorable Groenewald.
Chairperson, I'm coming in now asking a question because I see the time is running out and seeing that Mr. Smith will respond some other time on his presentation. Firstly, I want to say, Chairperson, that we must say to each other
that illegal land invasion is totally unacceptable. I mean, even the President of South Africa is on record where he said, no illegal land invasion will be tolerated and will be allowed. And that the police, and he said it, will ensure that the law must be abide. And he said that specifically when he referred to the Olivenhout Bosch invasion in Gauteng. So, Chairperson, I've listened now to the debate and everything, and I'm quite honest. It is quite a lot of political undertones, the DA on the one side and the ANC on the other side. I want to be objective. And we as a committee must also see to it that we can strengthen the police services on the one hand, and also city councils, metro councils, to ensure that we get law and order and that we can prevent illegal land invasion. And with that, Chairperson, I want to come to a specific matter which I think is more factual in this whole presentation. And for me, it is a very serious matter. And that is on the submission and the presentation by Mr. Smith and slide 32, where it says false allegations in the parliamentary research paper. Now, why is it that important to me? According to the Metro, it says that it is false because it referred to cases from IPID, referred to the Metro. Now, let me say on one side, the fact that they say the research is wrong, they are wrong. Chairperson, I did a lot of research in my life, and I think it is an insult to say that a researcher is wrong. The fact of the matter is, the research document I received was correct. Because if you go and look at the 2018-2019 IPID annual report, it is the correct figures. So the problem here is that IPID gave the wrong figures. And I want clarity on this matter, seeing that IPID is present in this meeting. Because this is a serious allegation against IPID. Because if IPID is giving incorrect figures, then they are lying to Parliament in terms of an annual report. And I've got the whole complete annual report. And those figures in the research document are quite correctly. So, Chairperson, I would like to have clarity on this specific factual matter. Now, who's right and who's wrong? Is IPID wrong? Or is the City of Cape Town correct when they say they didn't receive that? And at least I think they should apologize to the research unit for stating that they are wrong. They are not wrong. It is either IPID must say whether they are right or wrong. So that for me is a very important matter. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable. That is a very important point which you make, which I was going to raise with Councillor Smith. You see, we have a very good researcher. And the information which we receive from our researcher is actually a collation of statistics which comes from documents which we receive as Parliament. And we have never questioned these documents as Parliament. So if a councillor gets to our meeting and question our documents, there's a hint of arrogance here. So please, if these statistics are incorrect, Councillor Smith, you are quoting a document which is not your document, but which is a document which belongs to the National Assembly. The research was done for the National Assembly, and this research was not done for the City of Cape Town. So we'll give IPID a chance to respond. Honorable de Blanche, and then Honorable Patrain, and then I will take some responses. We have approximately, we still have more than an hour to go. Honorable de Blanche, and then Honorable Patrain. Honorable de Blanche, where's your sound today? Can you unmute yourself, please, Honorable de Blanche? Honorable de Blanche, we see your hands. Unmute yourself, please. My dear friend de Blanche, you know I give you all the time. I see your hands. Where's your son or your daughter? They must come and help you. De Blanche, I just see your face and you're very frustrated. Call this fourth industrial revolution specialists. Your camera is gone. Honorable Patrain, I'll take you now. Honorable Patrain. Honorable members, am I having a problem, but I don't hear anybody?
No, I can hear you, Chair.
Oh, so what is happening? We don't hear de Blanche.
Is it possible he's been somehow muted by Parliament?
I don't hear Patrain either.
I suspect it's load shedding, Chair. Where
yes.
Okay.
Yes. Chair, there's load shedding in Cape Town at the moment. If he's in Cape Town, then he might be having a problem right now, Chair.
All right. Could we then go to Patrain? Patrain is also in the Western Cape. Patrain? All right. Without that, could I then give first SAPS, IPID, and then the City of Cape Town? SAPS, National Commissioner Sithole, you may respond.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I think, Chair, I'm just going to respond on three things which I think may offer a solution to this matter. Firstly, I want to respond on the report that since the discussions between the Minister and the Premier and as well as the MEC, the SAPS received 10 competency certificates from the law enforcement, and we still have others outstanding because the establishment is over 1,000. We take the commitment by the MEC and the direction by the Minister, but what I want to request on this one is a straightforward ultimatum date for us to receive the competency certificates, because there are those which were signed by cluster commanders in terms of the previous delegation, but immediately after this problem surfaced, I withdrew all delegations and only the provincial commissioner and myself would grant such delegations. So the rest are still outstanding. The other thing that I just wanted to bring to the attention of the committee is that the training standards in respect of the law enforcement agency, they are not yet approved by myself as it applies to the metros. And therefore, it became a risk for them to be deployed together with the police. Hence, the possible crossfire, because we must all talk to the same. And on this one, I would recommend to the committee that we also urgently escalate or include the submission of the training curriculum via our National Training and Development Division, so that we can also endorse those particular training standards. I think at the present moment, we also have the law enforcement deployed as a first responder. And when I mean first responder, dealing with protests, we've got 2 levels. We've got 3 levels: level 1, level 2, and level 3. And level 3 is an advanced stage which deals with a protest that is of a serious nature. Now, the law enforcement, from time to time, they are found mixing up with level 3 processes. And their training is not yet at that level. It's a risk for them to be at that particular level. They belong to level 1 and level 2. And at level 1 and level 2, the law doesn't allow us to allow them to operate alone. They must operate with the police. Finally, Chair, I think when the metro is getting deployed, according to the Act, they provide their plan to us, which at the level of the provinces, they are all approved by the provincial commissioners. But at the present moment, the plan for deploying the law enforcement is not approved by the provincial commissioners. And this is exposing government to litigation, because the problem is if they act wrongly, who takes their accountability? But obviously, from a litigation's point of view, we must provide a response. And sometimes then there's also some resources at the municipalities, which are level 3 resources. But I had this discussion with the chief of the metros across the country, which also include the chief of metro in Cape Town. We have agreed amicably that at the present moment, they do not have an authority to keep level 3 or to utilize level 3 resources, which are the nyalas and the rest. Those are level 3, and you must have been trained up to that particular level. But then we agreed that they will then go and legally apply to get an authority to utilize them, and there will be conditions. So for now, this is what I will be suggesting, but this must be an ultimatum, because if they can't prove to us that they've got the certificate, we will reach a stage where we should not allow them to be part of the deployments. And they cannot fulfill the SAPS constitutional mandate, because that would be a risk. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. The eviction during the DMA, the Disaster Management Act, I'll come to that. That is outstanding. The most important point that I'd like to know from IPID is what Honorable Groenewald has said. IPID, could you respond to Honorable Groenewald so that we can see if we have indeed have the correct information? Because that information we received from our researcher came from your documents. Executive Director, could you assist me with that, please?
Okay. Thank you very much, Honorable Chairperson. Honorable Groenewald, let me assure you, the statistics for 2018 and 2019 was audited, verified, and confirmed by the Auditor General. So I'm not sure where does the City of Cape Town take this information from, because ours, it's done before we can release the stats, we first get verification, or the auditing, it's done by the Auditor General. So let me just give you the assurance that it's being audited. We can't just give information to Parliament and lie to the public without verifying information and auditing it first. Thank you.
Thank you very much, IPID. Honorable Tablanche, could we try you again? Honorable Tablanche, you are just smiling. Members, can you hear Honorable Tablanche, or is it just on my side?
No, he must unmute, Chair.
But Honorable Tablanche, what's wrong with you today?
He must switch off and restart his device.
We told him to. He did that. Honorable Blanche, can you try again, please?
Chairperson, sorry, it's Groenewald speaking.
Yes, I can hear Groenewald.
Maybe we should just ask the technical department whether everything is correct with them, because sometimes it can also be a problem.
Yes, I've asked to check with the host if they have muted him. So anyway, could I now give the Human Rights Commissioner and then the City of Cape Town? City of Cape Town, can you please respond, because IPID says their information has been audited. Human Rights Commissioner and then City of Cape Town. Dr. Kinnis, could you please come back to me on Honorable Groenewald? He has the right to speak. Dr.
Yes, Chair, we're trying to sort out with Parliament's ICT. Thanks, Chair.
Please, he has the right to speak. Could I have the Human Rights Commissioner and then the City of Cape Town? Commissioner Nissen, are you still there? At some stage he left the meeting, then he joined again. Commissioner Nissen? He doesn't appear to be there. City of Cape Town, is it Councillor Smith? You may take the floor now. It's your chance to speak.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Chair, I think that the issue around the certificates, as the Mayor indicated, we will endeavour to supply the certificates, but the point was that Executive Director Bosman indicated to Minister Cele in the meeting that the certificates are issued by SAPS, so it is confusing to us why we should be supplying the certificates. We are not the ones generating them. It is the agency who's giving them to us, who's asking us to show it to them. So I think that there is some confusion on that score, but as the Mayor said, we will ensure that all these are supplied. Chair, all of us, every single staff member has a law enforcement officer who is on the ground, has a competency certificate. The only ones who don't are the ones we haven't appointed yet, because we're waiting for up to 6 months for the clearance to happen and for the competency certificates to be issued. So we have very long delays in appointing some staff because these certificates are not forthcoming. In some cases, it just takes really long. Chairperson, the standards of training are absolutely approved. Our college holds the Safety and Security Sector Education Authority, so SETA. We have an accreditation number, 11199691944, and that's been valid since 2011 and continues to be valid at least until 2023 before we have to renew again. The Quality Control for Trades and Occupations accreditation, the Professional Firearms Training Council accreditation, the registration with the RTMC in terms of the Traffic College, and the training curriculum for law enforcement officers includes the Peace Officer and Traffic Warden course, which has national accreditation, the tactical survival techniques, basic handgun training, basic shotgun training, pepper spray training, radio training, docket and statement writing, vehicle impoundment, bylaw training, powers and duties, NRTA 93, 96 definitions, how to apply this traffic control, and then a whole range of others. And all of these are nationally accredited courses. So I don't agree with the National Commissioner. These are very much accredited courses that we're training in terms of. The only time that law enforcement is involved in protest actions is either if they're alone on the scene and SAPS haven't arrived yet, where they're inadvertently the first ones on the scene, and because SAPS are not present yet. As soon as SAPS are present, we defer to SAPS and SAPS are in charge, and we take instruction from them. There is no requirement in law, Honourable Chair, for law enforcement to submit an annual police plan, only for Metro Police. But in the past, we have in fact appended it voluntarily to the annual police plan we submitted for Metro Police. We did that for several years. We never received comment on it, so we desisted from doing so. The NIALAs have been signed off by SAPS and other agencies, and they are in fact used by Metro Police forces across the country. The SAPS also requested that these vehicles be present, so we have a daily planning operation with SAPS, and SAPS include us in the operations and determine where they want us. The annual police plan does in fact, Chair, speak to the tactical response unit in Metro Police, which supports our anti-land invasion unit, which resorts under law enforcement. So it is not correct to say that the APP doesn't reference it. The Metro Police, Honourable Chair, has never failed to meet any standard determined by a National Commissioner or by any national standard applying to us. I guarantee you that. We're meticulous about this. The city has previously requested that law enforcement should resort under the monitoring of IPID, and we repeat that request here this morning. We're eager for you to amend the legislation for that oversight to be applicable, but as I placed in the IM or in the chat, there's quite a large range of existing oversight bodies who are all very aggressive, including the Provincial Police Ombudsman and SAPS, in fact, with investigations as well. Every municipality, Chair, in this country that doesn't have a Metro Police utilizes peace officers. So it's not just every municipality that doesn't have a Metro Police uses law enforcement, sometimes they're called public safety. So this same issue applies throughout South Africa. And the city enforcement services do attend all the planning. We attend the station crime combating forum meetings, all the other coordinated meetings, the project, etc. What Director Roberts was referring to is that right at the start of the spate of land invasions, an unfortunate situation occurred where a senior SAPS member forbade our services from participating in the Prov job. And this unfortunately created a situation where there was ineffective joint planning, but that situation has since been remedied after the intervention of the provincial government. We are often required to act without SAPS due to delays in SAPS not being available. In terms of the planning for these operations, unfortunately, it is so that sometimes if we had to wait for SAPS, the planning would take multiple days and we would not be able to do the counter-spoliation. We would forfeit the opportunity to do counter-spoliation and would then be in a situation where only evictions with a court order were possible. And that is simply impossible, because by the time you get the eviction many months later, the land is extensively occupied and you are required to give alternative accommodation, which is simply not possible. In terms of the IPID matter, I absolutely agree with the Honourable Groenewald, Chairperson. We are definitely have no intention of impugning the dignity of your researcher. Our MPs speak highly of the researchers, and we understand that the research simply quoted the information from IPID. We are aware of 2 incidents, and we believe that some of the other incidents may have been misclassified. It is a matter to which the Chief of the Metro Police will speak himself. Chair, I think with the South African Human Rights Commission, the Mayor really tries to maintain a very positive relationship. But we do feel as if there is a selective attention paid to matters pertaining to the city, because we see exactly the same matters happening and transpiring elsewhere in the country without the same impact and without the same level of attention. With, for instance, the matter pertaining to Mr. Xolani, we would certainly never deprive somebody of his dignity. And in the case of Mr. Xolani, he did so himself. I have the video available should you wish to see it, and I can show you the video where Mr. Xolani exits the structure without clothes on. We have censored the video and exposes himself with no law enforcement around minutes before the other incident that is now well known on social media happens. So we wouldn't deprive him of such. In the case of, for instance, the ladies at Welbelunt, we have now since learned to address this matter more effectively, and we now take blankets along so that we may assist in covering the persons so that there is no impact on their dignity when they undress themselves. We are very serious about positive relationships with communities, so there is constant engagement by the Mayor. He has a public engagement unit that goes out, the councillors, the different departments. But unfortunately, when it comes to the land invasions, there's very little we can do to engage with a group of persons who are adamant to invade a certain piece of land. There's only so much you can negotiate, and in the end, if they persist, then unfortunately you must apply the law. In response to the Honourable Sheikh Imam, it is a valid question. Unfortunately, the Mayor just didn't have enough time to get to it. But I do want to say to him, we spent 90% of our grant funding. That which wasn't spent this year was rolled over, so no money is lost. And unfortunately, where we were unable to complete projects and money wasn't spent was largely due to land invasions and protest actions. In relation to the death of the officer who was shot, he was in plain clothes, and the law enforcement officer claimed that the officer did not identify himself and was involved in the assault on a member of the public. There are obviously very differing versions of this matter, and I don't think it is proper for us, whilst there is a criminal investigation, to debate the merits or demerits of the case, which is why we've desisted from doing so in the public environment. So I don't think one can ascribe the word murder here, as was described by the National Minister, because it is very unclear what exactly the circumstances of this matter was. The lack of POPs deployment is a crisis for us. We can see that we are have the lowest deployment in the country, and this is something we are appealing to be taken seriously. I know that the Premier and the Provincial MEC for Community Safety have written on this matter. To the Honourable Member Faku, law enforcement does comply with every standard meticulously. But I do think there is a narrative emerging here that sounds like we are not. Ma'am, we are very serious about complying with every standard, and you will not find a standard that you can point at which we have not complied with. I don't think that we claim that the police committee politicized its work. We just were concerned that we were the only city that was summoned to appear on the issue of land invasions, because we see all the cities in South Africa doing counter-spoliation operations every week. We also have relationships with them, so we're familiar with what they're doing. We exchange information with them. We're on WhatsApp groups with officials and councillors. And so it is certainly not just the city of Cape Town that does the counter-spoliation operations. To Honourable Member Mapatsu, the city does not deny the oversight role of the committee. The Mayor ensured that we were here this morning. I think, Honourable Chair, the initial invitation was just not possible for us to attend. So I think the Mayor, at the first available opportunity, has made sure that we are accountable.
Please, Councillor Smith, the matter between the letters between myself and the Mayor is between myself and the Mayor. I have not commented about those letters. If I comment about those letters, you are all going to be in serious trouble. So please desist from commenting about the letter which is between myself and the Mayor. And for your information, I sent the Mayor several letters, and then I had to summons him. So please do not engage me on letters which were before. Those letters were between myself and the Mayor, not between myself and you. Can you please continue answering your questions?
Thank you, ma'am. I responded only in the light of the matter raised by one of the honourable members.
Yes, but please, that matter is not for you to respond to. I sent letters to the Mayor. I did not send letters to you. Can you confine yourself to matters which belong to you? Please respond.
All right. Honourable Chair, the city works, in terms of the working relationship raised by several persons with SAPS, I will say to you that on the grassroots, we have an extremely functional relationship. I'm often in various community meetings and otherwise where SAPS sing the praise of the city and thank the city for their interventions and support, and sometimes make comments such as they would not be able to undertake their work were it not for the support of the city. So we have a very solid relationship. It is true that, as you say, even with a marriage, occasionally that relationship hits rocky patches, and there are actions by certain persons on both sides, perhaps, that impair that relationship, and certainly that was true with the letter issued by the senior SAPS member that created certain subsequent consequences. The complaint to which Minister Khayelitsha referred, in which he said that a lady was pulled by her hair, or there was a complaint some years ago. We are aware of that complaint. It was in fact involving Metro Police and not law enforcement. But again, we're aware of that. And I should point out that with the case of the shooting here near the Standard Bank building of the non-uniformed SAPS member, the officer has not yet been charged. So we await progress on that. And we assume if there is substantive evidence to suggest that he did something wrong, that he will be charged, but he has not been charged now. And that matter has now been around for some time. And we are ourselves very keen to get to the bottom of the matter, because we do try and give our staff every possible bit of stress training and conflict resolution training. So we want to make sure that they're also conducting themselves in the most ethical manner possible. In terms of MP Kola Barnard's questions, I have raised all the relevant training curriculum, and I've also answered the Honourable Member Groenewald in that we certainly agree that the researcher was just quoting the IPID stats, but our staff are not aware of the matters raised by IPID, and at least not in those classifications. Chair, you yourself, Honourable Chair, asked about the evictions, and I want to say we are very determined to pursue evictions against gangsters and drug dealers and our own rental stock. There was a time in the city when this didn't happen, but when I think when it was Helen Zille, when she became mayor, she was determined that we should act firmly against people using our own rental stock as state-subsidized gangster opportunities. So we evict around 7 to 13 cases, and the only thing that really slows us down in terms of getting all the persons out of those properties is in fact the provisions within the PI Act, which unfortunately makes it extremely difficult. And perhaps at some point, if there is review of that legislation, where there is clear evidence of criminal conduct, it should be made faster and easier for us to remove such criminal elements, because they do cause an amazing amount of harm in that case. Chair, I have attempted to answer all the questions posed. I hope I haven't missed any. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councillor, for those comprehensive responses. Our Minister has returned. Before I take another round of questions, honourable members, could we please understand very clearly, and this is the last time that I want to listen to stories that the Western Cape was singled out. The first reason why I called you is because this committee did its oversight work in the Western Cape. We were unable to do oversight work in the other provinces due to COVID-19. After COVID-19, we will be visiting other metros. So please do not compare yourself with other metros. You are not a national government. You have been called here as the Western Cape because we did our oversight in the Western Cape and there were concerns raised about you. The second point is, we called your neighborhood watches and your community police fora. We had no objections to that. The reason being, again, because the complaints were raised when we did our oversight work. Now, when we consistently have complaints about a particular sector of the police force, we have the right to call you in. And please, it's got more than evasions. Land evasions, please do not just focus on land evasions. As the Minister said, we have a problem with your relationship with SAPS. So we will come back and we will monitor what has happened with IPID, what you have said, what Honourable Groenewald has said, and what the IPID Executive Director said. Please stop making comments, desist from making comments about Western Cape being singled out. You're not being singled out. We did our oversight work here. We received several complaints about you. And then the Human Rights Commissioner will be part of our oversight when we go to Gauteng, when we go to Ekurhuleni. It is not for you to come and tell us how to do our oversight work. We will call in Ekurhuleni if we need to. So whether you're talking to other communities has got nothing to do with me. We have called you in, so please respond to this committee. It is the last time that I want to hear that you have been singled out. I'm going to take another round of questions. And Honourable Tablanche, please don't ask me if I have singled out the Western Cape. I have not. Honourable Tablanche, you must be audible now.
Yeah, but you hear me now.
Wonderful, wonderful. All I need is to see your face.
I'm glad to see you, and I'm glad that you could hear me, and I'm also glad that the Minister is also back, because I wanted to ask my question before he leave to the Minister one. But I'm glad anyway. Chairperson, I'm on, and may I go ahead asking questions, because I don't know where we are at the moment.
Honourable Tablanche, please go ahead and ask as many questions as you would like.
Chairperson, thank you for that. Chairperson, I want to start with Mr. Nissen's, comments that he made. And yes, obviously we agree that, whatever the police is doing and whoever, obviously it must be done in a humane fashion. And then I'm coming to our National Minister. I know that the Minister mentioned that he had various meetings and discussions several people, and even if my memory serves me right, even with a premier as well. My question here is, now, if there is something wrong with the municipal police service, obviously the national the national commissioner must report it to the minister. And my question is whether the minister has taken up this issue with the MEC. That is my first question, Chairperson. Chairperson, then I also want to know, obviously during this process, a lot of complaints have been reported to the police for investigation. And my question is, how many or what percentage have been channeled through court, and what is the outcome of that in, all the questions? Chairperson, then I also see in the presentation of the Western Cape that they were, let's call it, the police sort of, they are not part of the joints anymore, and, that institutions or things where they meet. Sorry, I'm missing my notes now. Anyway, my first question is, why is that, and whether that's been restored at the moment? Chairperson, and then we also got a presentation from IPID, and what I understood there is that they're saying that they have, it's not their business at the moment, and obviously that, can only be dealt with once the legislation has been amended. So I think that is something that the committee must, really take very seriously. And, obviously we agreed in the past, I know that, the IPID legislation must be changed. So Chairperson, for now, I'm going to stop there and let me just organize myself a bit better. But thank you for really accommodating me. Thanks.
Thank you very much for that input, Honorable Blanche. I've noted Honorable Faku, and then Sheikh Imam has left the conversation, and then I'll also take Mapatse. Honorable Faku.
Thank you, Chairperson. I just want to raise a few points, and I'm happy, Chairperson, that we are emphasizing on this point. We must not be told on our responsibility when it comes to oversight. And I think I did not want to call Councillor Smith into order because he's really out of order. He keeps on coming and telling us that we're focusing on the Western Cape. If he wants to have recordings of what the work that we've been doing as a committee, and I think it's up there on the website, or you can request documents from your office so that you understand the work that we do as Parliament. We've got a constitutional mandate. You must not think that the Western Cape is operating outside of our country. Western Cape is part of our country, and I'm happy that we have explained that, Chairperson. I think Honorable Groenewald has joined the meeting later, Chairperson, when he said that the issue of land invasion. We, as the members of this committee, were law-abiding citizens, and I think when myself and Honorable Mapatso, when we made our first comment, we said we're against land invasion. But the issue here that we're raising is the issue of how it's done in the Western Cape and other metros. This is the issue that we've been raising, to say that we're totally against land invasion, but the real issue is that how it's done and how this thing happened in the Western Cape, it was done in an incorrect way. And even the Human Rights Commission emphasized on that, to say that there must be a plan, there must be engagement when these things are done. And furthermore, what I've also stated, to say that the eviction were done in when there was the laws that were put in place to say there must be no evictions because of the Disaster Management Act. That is our point of argument when it comes to the Western Cape. I just want to put that clear, Chairperson, that there must be no confusion. Chairperson, I don't know, I have a difficulty in understanding Councillor Smith. Councillor J.P. Smith thinks that maybe Western Cape is developing their own laws or what, I don't understand. National Commissioner is the one that approved for law enforcement. Now he's arguing what the National Commissioner is saying. I don't know, but I appreciate what the mayor has said, that he will engage with the minister with regards to this, and all certificates will be directed to the minister on Monday. So there must be, when we do our oversight, there must be no questions, especially when people are doing the right things. When people are doing the right thing, there must be no questions. And I also appreciate the comment that Honorable Groenewald has made with regards to the issue of IPID. I think as a committee, we must take this further, because whoever is making such allegations to say that our research has misled or IPID, I think there must be an investigation, and we must get that report as a committee so that it's corrected, and whoever was done so must come and apologize in front of us as a committee, Chairperson. But I think let us also appreciate the tone of the Mayor of Cape Town. I think I appreciate his tone. Then Councillor J.P. Smith, who thinks that he comes here and tell us what to do. It's not going to happen. Thanks, Chair.
Members, I think now we have made the point. We are working together out of this meeting. We would like to have intergovernmental relations restored. We'd like to have the minister, if there's any further complaints, minister, if there's complaints against SAPS, we'll take that into account. We would want to have reports from this meeting. We'd like to have reports on the questions which we have raised as a committee. And Minister, I can assure you that this portfolio committee on police takes its oversight role very seriously. And I think maybe you should tell the city of Cape Town that even when it comes to SAPS and your ministry, the committee takes its work seriously. So there's no party political agenda when it comes to our oversight role. Before I close the meeting, I want to note Honorable Mapatse and then Honorable Kola Barnard, or could I see if Kola Barnard and Whitfield left? Honorable Mapatse?
Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Pardon, Chair. Just to say I have not left. My hand is still up. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
All right. Kola Barnard, I'll give you a chance after Mapatse.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I want to align myself with what Honorable Faku has alluded to. That I think the tone of the mayor of Cape Town was really of a leader who's trying to correct the relationship, that there must not be a divorce, as you are talking about, Honorable Chairperson. But the tone of Honorable J.P. Smith is not assisting this portfolio committee in the manner that he, in front of the National Commissioner, after he has spoken that this is the training that is required, and the Commissioner went to explain that he spoke about the level 3, and he said the law enforcement of Cape Town do not have that level, and it is a risk for them also. And he also advised that they cannot use other vehicles. And he said they must operate with the police. And the plan, he said, it has not yet been not approved. Again, the issue of the certificates, Chair, I want to understand presently those ones that do not have the certificates signed by the National Commissioner. Are those people being used presently as we speak? The other issue is that the issue of the evictions during the disaster, and which SAPS was not even consulted, has not been responded to, including the issue of the structures. Again, the issue of the policeman who was shot down. Instead of trying to, these are the law enforcement of South Africa. I'm talking about the security cluster. It can't be correct for JP Smith to come and defend that the member did not produce one and one.
No, Honorable Mapatse. Honorable JP Smith is a councillor, so please.
Oh, Honorable, my apology, Chair.
Yes.
My apology, Chair.
Respect he deserves.
Yes, my apology, Chair. Honorable JP Smith, in the manner that he is speaking here, it seems as if, those tensions that we are talking about, the police and the law enforcement, whether in uniform or not, or the person did not introduce the card. But I don't think it was correct to shoot. And this is why, because there's no oversight over them, they will do as they wish. But I think it's undermining the National Commissioner to say they are competent, they have got the CETA qualifications and so on, but the National Commissioner gives a different explanation on training of the police. The response, he says again that they're no more going to submit the reports because, what is the plan? Because the police are delaying to act. And then they are saying also, when they are supposed to evict, the police do not act. That is why they take their own initiatives and moving without consulting the police. And the presentation here from the police is very clear that there are meetings that are supposed to be held every week, but with this one, the meeting was never held and the police did not know anything about that. So Honorable JP Smith cannot say it is because the police delayed. How do you delay when you're not informed about a particular eviction that is going to happen? But we have not received a response that how do you do evictions under the disaster when the regulations are very clear that there are no evictions. And I want to assure Honorable JP Smith that we said we are a government that is not going to allow illegal occupation of land. And when it happens, it is the duty of the law enforcement agencies to act within the confines of the law and evict those people in a very humane way. So that's Chair, that I'm worried that the National Commissioner explains this and Honorable JP Smith differs with the presentation by the National Commissioner. So it creates a problem as if we have two different governments here. The Western Cape, the city has got its own things that it will not comply with the standards that are enshrined in the act that the National Commissioner has approved. But I will support the request by the National Commissioner that we should speed up the training curriculum that must include all the metros. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kola Barnard. And then before I do the closing remarks, I'm still seeing Faku, and then the Human Rights Commissioner, the Minister, and then I'm closing the meeting. Honorable Kola Barnard.
Thank you, Chairperson. One question to the National Police Commissioner. perhaps he didn't hear it, or perhaps I didn't hear his answer. It was a question by the Honourable Whitfield, who sadly has had to leave the meeting, asking about the size of the POP unit dealing with the protests in the province, in the city of Cape Town. He gave the details of the size of the various units and asked what the situation was. Was it going to be beefed up? So perhaps he could give us some details about that. And then the Metro Police Service Chief perhaps could indicate whether it has an effective internal affairs unit to deal with issues relating to breaches of various codes. And does that unit or units, do they work with the IPID? And finally, again, the Metro Police Chief, could he provide examples of current crime prevention programs and operations in the city of Cape Town, in the metro areas, and detail the successes and the challenges faced? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honourable Kola Barnard. Honourable Faku, this is your last opportunity to speak, please.
No, Chair, I did not raise my hand, sorry.
Oh, thank you. I thought you were abusing the chairperson. Eh? Honourable Commissioner Nissen. Reverend Nissen. But I saw Reverend Nissen here a few minutes ago.
Chairperson, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. You may continue, Reverend Nissen.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, honourable members and councillors. Just a few things from my side. The one thing is that we have always and will continue to condemn any illegal invasion, occupation of land. And it's unfortunate that the city continues to say that we are giving
that we are giving the green light for invasions. That's not true. I also like to take that we as the Commission do act independently and impartially, and we all over the country, we deal everyone the same. And it's not true that we are taking extra or dealing or singling out the Western Cape or the city of Cape Town. If Councillor J.P. Smith will also look at the other municipalities and see the wonderful relationship that we have, to always look for mediation and solution of the. Secondly, the Cape High Court have on a number of occasions asked the Human Rights Commission to assist in mediation, facilitation and monitoring the situation. Cape Nature is one point in time. Have that some of the members of the law enforcement do not display name badges. Secondly, fourthly, we're saying that the people are not the enemy. We're not living in a wartime. We're living in a time where we need to engage with people and consult with people and do it in a humane way. Then, chairpersons from our side, yes, we do perceive a problem between the police and the law enforcement within the Western Cape. And I guess that we, as the Commission, we probably can play a role in trying to assist there, because I think it's an attitude it's a approach that which is different from the two sectors. And then, Chair, I mean, we always believe in engaging communities. The more we engage the communities in a humane way and in a way that we build confidence and trust and
Commissioner, we've lost you. Human Rights Commissioner, we've lost you. Reverend Nissen, we lost you for a while. Can you just repeat your last minute? The last minute you spoke, yes. Repeat that.
The connection. I'm saying, Honourable Chair, that we need to build trust and we need to build confidence in our law enforcement and in SAPS and in the Metro, because we cannot, the law enforcement cannot combat crime on its own. It needs the people, and we need to change people's behavior. But also, you can have all the training in the world of any law enforcement or SAPS member, unless that person is challenged into behavioral change, in implementing the law. And sometimes there is the big difference between the spirit of the law and the letter of the law. And sometimes the spirit of the law achieves much more. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. I'll ask for the IPID and then the National Commissioner, the Executive Director of IPID.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think what we'll do is probably engage the city of Cape Town on the statistics, so that by the time we come back to yourselves, we would have dealt with the matter, because I'm not sure what informs the information that they have. So that's what we'll do.
Thank you very much. Before we do the closing remarks, Commissioner Sithole.
Yeah, thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Chair, let me start by giving the figure, the total figure of public order in the province is 552 members. We've got 4 units. There's 1 unit which is dedicated for Cape Town Metro, which is the area we're talking about at the moment. And Chair, we have also taken up the public order resources in a meeting with the Premier as well as the MEC. What is a little bit confusing for me is the metro level talking about the public order strength in the province, because that we deal with nationally with the province. But then over and above this 552, Chair, there's also more than 500 other members that are deployed in the Western Cape. In terms of deployments, the Western Cape is the highest in the country, is the highest resource province because of the stabilization resources, and this also includes the defense. For more than a period of a year, there has not been a need for us to increase public order resources in the forces in the province because of the stabilization resources that are there that we've deployed from all other provinces. But immediately after the stabilization intervention was executed, I have appointed a team which I indicated to the Premier and the MEC, a national team that is currently working on the resourcing of all other units, including the public order and the police stations. And can I again, Chair, maybe just repeat my amicable request to the committee, because this thing is gonna push us to another level and may tarnish the relationship that we already have. I want to repeat again, Chairperson, any training that is police orientated can only be done with the authority of the National Commissioner. And I want to cite the cost that has been mentioned by one of the honorable members in response is cost number 50122. That is within SASITA, is ring-fenced for the police. Anyone who's making use of this particular qualification must get the authority of the National Commissioner. If it's so done without that authority, it's unlawful. And then secondly, Chair, whether we issued competency certificates or not, as and when people go to the field and they say to us they've got those competency certificates, the onus rests on them to produce them. And why I'm putting this as an amicable request, we don't want to take this down to operational level and enforce it there. Because once we enforce it at operational level, we may end up arresting some of these law enforcers. And at the moment, we want this thing to be resolved amicably. And finally, Chair, I still want to insist the deployments by any other person that relates to policing is subject to the approval of the plan by the police. The fact that the police are slow or any other matter If it is not brought to my attention to correct, it can't be a license to kill. And two wrongs can make a right. I want to suggest that we correct what is wrong and do what is right, again, for the sake of retaining and sustaining the relationship. We're making this as an amicable request. And again, through the minister, I'm still saying let's get an ultimatum date for the certificates. Let the municipality apply for the approval of the training curriculum for the law enforcement to us. Let's have a date also attached to that. And let them apply for the utilization of level 3 resources. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, National Commissioner. I think we are moving now to decisions and we're moving to resolutions. Honorable Minister, I'll give you an opportunity to speak before I close. Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Well, thanks, Chair. I had to rush for the Interministerial of Agriculture. I listened, Member Mapaswe, trying to repeat what has been said by Councillor J.P. Smith. If it is so, J.P. Smith, Councillor, is a danger to society because he cannot sit here and give any form of alibi and excuse in the matter of the member of the South African Police Service, whether produced or not produced, the appointment card. Maybe that's the reason that even when this officer is charged, he's still at work. Is an undermining of the crime that was committed. That's one. The problems we're dealing with here, I want to repeat, most they are outside the formal metro police, which for us would be easy to work with them if they were resourcing them. But they've opted to resource the structure that is outside the legislative and constitutional framework, which has no oversight of the IPID and which gives us problem in working with them. Having said so, Chairperson, the mayor that has been invited in these meetings has not made it, but I must confirm it's much better to work with the mayor and you find it much warm to work with the mayor. Member Councillor J.P. Smith was in the meeting where they were on February, where there was a premium. I heard Honorable Terry Branch asking if the MEC knows about these things. Well, if the Premier knows, obviously, the MEC would have to be part of that. And indeed, in a very initial meeting, the MEC and the Premier were set together in the meeting. And the very first meeting I sat together with the MEC, that's why we decided to invite the Premier. We are working hard on the intergovernmental, but if people continue to break the law, we'll have to be pardoned because we'll have to defend the law. That's what the Constitution of the Republic is saying, that 205 is a job of the police to defend the law in the Republic of South Africa. Intergovernmental, we are trying hard. We request that this certificate, the mayor has agreed that they come on Monday. And that's one. Two, those people that don't have certificates, decisions will really have to be taken about them. But three, these structures must stop and cease here now. To go out there without the plan with the police is not us want the plan, it's a law that wants the plan. So everybody must follow, respect the law. It doesn't matter who you are. We believe if we do that, we'll work proper, but if we don't do that, we'll have to act. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, honorable members, honorable minister, honorable deputy minister, honorable members, the police commissioner, executive director of IPID, and the councillor from the city of Cape Town, all your entire delegations that have been here today. I really appreciate the fact that you've come to this meeting and that we've engaged with one another vigorously, but also professionally. This committee has not used politics to differ in terms of its debates. Yes, there are times where we differ because of our political persuasions, but that we are always attempting to rise above politics when it comes to policing. So please understand that our decisions have never been politicized. I am aware that that you are attempting to work conscientiously on your intergovernmental relationships, and I thank the Minister for wanting to strengthen this. Honorable Groenewald, he says that I'm not allowing him to speak in the chat, but I'm going to be taking his chats later, okay? And we are going to be looking at, I've noted your comments, Honorable Groenewald, but allow me to thank the Mayor for the manner in which he approached this meeting. The next point is that the plan by the police must be approved, and we seek dates for this. The training curriculum must be approved, and we seek dates for this. As we said, that as a committee, we will correct what is wrong. If communities are not well served, it is our responsibility as a committee to ensure that communities receive the type of services they require, especially when it comes to policing, gender-based violence, and all types of misdemeanors and incidents of violent crime in the Western Cape. The Western Cape has been a particular hotspot where you called for the SANDF to be deployed here. So you singled out your province as one which requires the SANDF. The SANDF was deployed here, and we conducted oversight based on the fact that the SANDF was deployed in the Western Cape. You also have to understand that the gang unit, the anti-gang unit, was also launched in the Western Cape, and we seek answers. We are not here to fight you. There's nothing punitive about it. We are here to enforce the law and to ensure that our oversight responsibilities are adhered to. The date to correct this, the certificates, we said those certificates have to be corrected by Monday. Now, we also met with your CPFs and your neighborhood watchers. There's a long list of concerns which were raised by your CPFs and your neighborhood watchers. I have two last comments that I wanted to make. The law enforcement officer was suspended by the city, was called out, the national minister, who commented repeatedly on the case, which we thought was inappropriate and which may have prejudiced the case. We have resisted commenting other than contextualizing the matter. That is Honorable Groenewald. Honorable Groenewald, your comments are noted. In conclusion, the amendment of the IPID Act is a priority for this committee. But what I'm going to engage with the minister, the national minister, the mayor, and the law enforcement units is, it is my view that the city should integrate the law enforcement units into the Metro Police while we are waiting for the amendment of the IPID Act. This would allow us for greater oversight and accountability so that IPID could conduct oversight over the law enforcement units. You cannot say that because there's a lacuna in the Act, law enforcement unit is not being held accountable. Now, when there was a lacuna in the Act, when it came to the appointment of the executive director, we solved it. Now there's a vacuum in the IPID Act. It is our responsibility as a National Portfolio Committee on Police to address the concern. There is no need for a special dispensation for law enforcement. And I'm going to have a look at all the other cities. You're not talking about the Metro Police. You're talking about the city police. Now, where do we still have city polices? There's a lot of work which we have to do. And I respect the researcher that we have. Before JP Smith responds or to that in writing, I would like to apologize to our staff. I would like to apologize to our researcher, Ms. Nicolette van Zyl-Goos, because these meetings are recorded, they are also live, and I would not be able to leave this meeting or conclude this meeting whilst those aspersions have been cast on our researcher as the National Commission of Police, Portfolio Committee on Police. Commissioner, National Commissioner, Executive Director, Minister, Deputy Minister, and the City of Cape Town, once more, honorable members of the Portfolio Committee, Honorable Kola Barnard, thank you very much for joining us. I wish to express my appreciation for the manner in which this meeting has been conducted. I thank you very much. The meeting is now adjourned. We'll call you for another meeting if the Portfolio Committee so requires. In the meantime, I'll engage with the Mayor of the City of Cape Town, and we'll report back to you on when all those commitments, legal commitments, have been met. In the meantime, I'll write those letters to the Mayor and ensure that our decisions are implemented. I thank you. The meeting is now closed. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you, Chairperson.